Hey friends! Tonight we're travelling far into the future, to the quiet red deserts of Mars. You'll step into the suit of an astronaut, living one full day on the first human colony. From the silence of the Martian dawn to the long shadows of its endless plains, this is a story designed to calm your thoughts and help you drift into deep, restorative sleep. If you find yourself enjoying these journeys, and only if you truly do, feel free to subscribe. It helps me keep building more of these worlds for you to explore each night. And before you get too comfortable, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a quick comment with your time and location right now. It's always amazing to see how many of us are lying down together across the world sharing the same story. So, settle in, close your eyes, and let's begin our day as an astronaut on Mars. Sol 847-0630 Mars local time. The gentle hum pulls you from the depths of sleep, that constant reassuring whisper of machinery that keeps you alive. Your dreams scatter like morning mist. Fragments of earth rain pattering against windows that no longer exist in your world. For a moment, in that liminal space between sleep and waking, you forget where you are, then gravity reminds you. Your body feels wrong as you shift beneath the thermal blanket. After 2 years on Mars, your muscles and bones have adapted to this alien pull, 38% of what you once knew as normal, but your deep memory still expects Earth's embrace. You feel simultaneously too light and too heavy, as if you're floating while being pressed down by an invisible weight that exists only in the phantom memory of home. The habitat's reinforced windows frame a view that still steals your breath, even after 847 sols. Pale salmon light filters through the transparent aluminum, casting everything in hues that have no name in any Earth language. Red dust particles dance in the thin atmosphere beyond the glass, a ballet of iron oxide pirouetting in air so thin it would kill you in minutes. The light itself feels alien, filtered through an atmosphere that's more vacuum than breath, painting the world in colours that speak of distance and time. You taste metal. It's always there now, the tang of recycled air that's been through scrubbers and filters, through your lungs and your crewmates' lungs, processed and reprocessed until it bears only a chemical resemblance to the wind that once moved through Earth's forests. Your mouth feels dry despite the humidity controls. Water is precious here, every molecule accounted for, recycled, conserved. Even your saliva is an investment in survival. The silence presses against your eardrums with physical weight. It's not the silence of Earth's quiet moments, not the held breath of snow-covered forests or the hushed anticipation before dawn. This is the silence of a world that has never known life, never heard a bird's call or the rustle of leaves. It's broken only by the whisper of recycled atmosphere through this ventilation system, and far beyond the walls, the distant rumble of wind across plains that have remained unchanged for billions of years. Your bedside display glows softly in the salmon light, showing your sleep metrics in cool blue numerals that feel like a message from another universe. 7 hours, 23 minutes. Sleep efficiency, 78%. REM cycles, adequate. The numbers tell you that your brain is adapting, finding rest even here at the edge of everything humans have ever known. But they don't measure the dreams, the way Earth's blue sky haunts your sleep, the way you sometimes wake expecting to smell rain. You flex your fingers, feeling the slight ache that's become constant. Your bones are losing density despite the exercise protocols, despite the medications, despite all of humanity's ingenuity. Mars is patient, but it's winning. Every day here costs you something: bone, muscle, the easy confidence of a creature evolved for a different world. The medical readouts don't lie. Radiation exposure accumulating, cardiovascular deconditioning progressing, psychological stress markers elevated but stable. Through the window, the Martian dawn continues its ancient ritual. The sun, your sun, Sol, the same star that warmed your childhood, appears smaller here, a more distant companion. It rises through a sky that refuses to turn blue, casting shadows that seem sharper, more defined in the thin air. No birds will greet this dawn, no flowers will turn their faces toward this light. Only you and your 3 crewmates, representatives of a species that was never meant to be here. You sit up slowly, your body protesting the movement with creaks and pops that sound too loud in the quiet habitat. The artificial gravity of the spinning section helps, but it can't fully compensate for what you've lost. Your feet find the floor, solid, manufactured, nothing like the earth you once walked barefoot through summer grass. The metal is slightly warm beneath your soles, heated by systems that never rest, never take a day off from the job of keeping you alive. 140 million miles. The number has become meaningless through repetition, but sometimes it hits you fresh, like now, as you stand at the threshold of another Martian day. 140 million miles from every human who ever lived, except for your 3 companions. The distance isn't just spatial, it's temporal, and with every conversation with our Earth carries the weight of time, messages racing across the void at light speed, but still arriving 12 minutes late, 12 minutes behind the moment they matter. Your reflection catches in the dark surface of the powered down wall display. Hair longer than regulations once demanded, skin slightly pale despite the UV supplements, eyes that have seen the curvature of a world no human was meant to witness. You look older, but also somehow newer, as if Mars has been slowly remaking you in its image. Your reflection is overlaid with the faint glow of the Martian landscape beyond, creating a double exposure that seems fitting. You're becoming something hybrid, still human, but touched by alien light. The habitat around you hums with quiet purpose. Every surface serves multiple functions, every cubic meter justified by weight restrictions and engineering constraints. This is not a home in any sense Earth would recognize. It's a life support system with living quarters attached, a bubble of Earth conditions maintained by constant vigilance and backup systems for the backup systems. Yet it has become home in ways you never expected. The sounds are familiar now. The rhythms of heating and cooling, the soft chime of status updates, the whispered conversations of machines keeping you alive. Outside, the landscape stretches toward horizons that curve too sharply, revealing the smaller circumference of this world. Ancient riverbeds carve the terrain with memories of water that flowed when Earth was young. The morning shadows reveal geological stories written in stone, evidence of a planet that once might have harboured life, might have been green beneath skies that could have been blue. Now it waits, patient and still, while 4 humans play out their brief drama on its stage. You check the wall chronometer, 6:37 Mars Standard Time. The day is beginning. Sol 847 of your extended mission. Somewhere Earth is turning through its own day-night cycle. Cities lighting up and going dark, seasons changing, people falling in love and saying goodbye. Children taking first steps and learning their names. All of it happening in a present you can never quite touch, always 12 minutes in your past by the time the light reaches you. But here, now, you are present in a way few humans have ever been. Present on another world, witness to sunrises that no earthbound eyes will see. Guardian of humanity's most distant outpost. The weight of that responsibility sits on your shoulders like a familiar coat. Heavy, but worn with something approaching pride. You take a deep breath of recycled air, taste the metal tang that has become the flavour of adventure, and prepare to meet another day on Mars. Sol 847 is waiting, full of routine and wonder, danger and discovery. The daily miracle of staying alive so far from home. 0645, 0730 Mars Standard Time. Your morning routine has become sacred, a tether to humanity that you guard with religious devotion. In a world where every action carries the weight of survival, these small rituals are acts of defiance against the void. You're not just staying alive, you're staying human. The shower stall awaits, a cramped cylinder that would have seemed impossibly small in your old life. Now it represents luxury, 90 seconds of heated water cascading over skin that hasn't felt rain in 2 years. You program the system with movements that have become automatic. Temperature 38.5 degrees Celsius, pressure setting medium, duration 90 seconds exactly. Every drop is precious, every second counted. As the water begins its brief dance across your shoulders, you close your eyes and try to remember what rain felt like. The recycled water carries its own story. It has travelled through your body and your crewmates' bodies dozens of times, processed through filters and purification systems, broken down to hydrogen and oxygen, and rebuilt into something that technically qualifies as clean. It doesn't smell like rain. It doesn't carry the scent of clouds or earth or growing things. It smells like efficiency. The water stops with mechanical precision at exactly 90 seconds. You towel off with a fabric that's been washed in the same recycled water, dried in recycled air, worn thin by the routines of staying clean in a place where cleanliness is measured not in comfort, but in contamination protocols and psychological well-being metrics. Coffee calls to you from the galley. Not the coffee of Earth cafes with their rich aromas and ceramic warmth, but something more precious. Your weekly allotment of real coffee beans, carefully rationed, zealously guarded. The aroma that rises from the brewing cup carries more than caffeine. It carries memory. Sunday mornings in that kitchen you'll never see again. The sound of newspaper pages turning, the lazy warmth of a world where water fell from the sky and air came free. You cradle the cup in both hands, feeling the heat through the ceramic. One of the few unnecessary luxuries allowed on the mission, justified by psychological necessity. The first sip is always a small miracle. For 30 seconds, you're not an astronaut on Mars. You're not calculating oxygen levels or monitoring system alerts. You're just someone drinking coffee in the morning, connected to 10,000 years of human ritual. The communication console chimes softly, indicating new messages from Earth. Your heart performs its familiar acceleration. 12 minutes ago, people you love were thinking of you, speaking to you across the void. You activate the display with a gesture that's become as automatic as breathing. Emma's face fills the screen, older than when you left, her hair different, smile lines deeper. Behind her, you catch glimpses of your kitchen. Was that always that colour? Has she repainted? The temporal disconnect creates a strange archaeology of your former life, visible in fragments and changes that accumulate while you're away. "Good morning, Mars crew," she says, and her voice carries the forced brightness you've learned to recognise. She's performing normalcy for your benefit, pretending this is just another video call, not a transmission across the solar system to someone who might already be dead by the time she sees your response. Sarah lost her first tooth yesterday. Well, 3 days ago for you, I guess. She wanted to wait to tell you herself. The camera shifts, and there's your daughter, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a small white trophy. "Daddy!" "The tooth fairy brought me $5. Mummy says inflation reached Mars too." She giggles at what must be Emma's prompting from behind the camera. Your daughter is 7 now, was 5 when you left. The math of missing time adds up in small faces that change while you watch, helpless to participate except as an observer 12 minutes in the past. "We had cake," Sarah continues, "and I made a wish and blew out the candles, and I wished for—" She pauses, looking uncertain, then directly into the camera. "I wished for you to come home for my next tooth." The message continues. Emma talking about work, about repairs to the house, about Sarah's school play where she's going to be a tree. Normal life happening at light speed while you drift through an alien dawn. They don't mention the empty chair at dinner, the way Emma sleeps on your side of the bed now, the questions Sarah asks about why Daddy's work takes so long. They perform happiness for you, love measured in careful emissions. You compose your response with the same care you'd use for a scientific report. Every word will travel 140 million miles to reach them, will arrive 12 minutes after your life has moved on to other moments. You tell them about the sunrise, about the samples you collected yesterday, about how much you miss them. You don't tell them about the bone density reports, about the way your hands shake sometimes in the cold, about the dreams where you're drowning in red dust. The medical scanner awaits its daily ritual. You place your hand on the biometric reader and let it catalogue the ways Mars is changing you. Blood pressure, slightly elevated, bone density, down another fraction of a percent, radiation exposure, accumulated and accumulating. Muscle mass, declining despite the exercise protocols. Psychological markers, stable, which is the best anyone can hope for out here. Each reading goes into a file that Earth monitors with the intensity of worried parents watching a sick child. Every data point represents a bargain struck with hostile environment. Time on Mars traded for years of life, discovery purchased with bone calcium and cardiovascular health. The computers track it all with mechanical precision, calculating the acceptable losses of staying human in an inhuman place. You program your vitamin regimen into the dispenser, calcium supplements, vitamin D, ironic given the constant presence of solar radiation, folate, iron. The pills rattle into your palm like dice, each one a small gamble against the certainty of physical decline. You swallow them with recycled water that tastes like determination. In the mirror above the small sink, your face looks back with eyes that have seen things no human eyes were meant to see. You brush your teeth with paste that foams differently in the low pressure, the bubbles larger and stranger. Even this simple act requires water conservation. You spit into a collection port that feeds the reclamation system. Waste not, want not, survive another day. The habitat around you hums its morning song, system cycling, temperatures adjusting, the complex choreography of keeping 4 humans alive in a world that offers only vacuum and cold. Your crewmates are beginning their own morning routines. Chen in the lab, running diagnostic protocols, Marcus checking the greenhouse systems, Yuki updating the mission logs with yesterday's discoveries. Through the galley porthole, Mars spreads its endless patience. The morning light has shifted from salmon to something approaching gold, though it will never achieve the warm honey of Earth mornings. Shadows move across ancient stone, revealing formations that predate human civilization by billions of years. This world has seen ice ages come and go, has watched its atmosphere bleed away into space, has waited in silence for something, anything to break the monotony of geological time. And here you are, a brief interruption in that silence, performing the small acts of staying human while surrounded by the sublime indifference of another planet. You finish your coffee, watching the last drops swirl in the bottom of the cup, and prepare to face Sol 847. The routine has armoured you with normalcy, wrapped you in the familiar rhythms of being alive. Whatever today brings, discovery, danger, or the quiet heroism of simple survival, you will meet it as yourself, unchanged in the ways that matter most. The chronometer reads 7:30. Time to check the systems that keep you alive. Time to prepare for another day's careful negotiation with the forces that want you dead. But for now, for these last few seconds of morning routine, you are simply human, drinking coffee, missing home, and grateful for the privilege of being exactly where you are. 7:30 to 8:45 Mars Standard Time. Mars wants to kill you. It's not personal. This world doesn't possess malice or intent. It simply exists in a state fundamentally incompatible with human life. And every breath you take is an act of technological defiance against that reality. Your morning systems check is a ritual of survival, a careful inventory of the machines that stand between you and the vacuum of space. You approach the main control console with the reverence of a priest approaching an altar. The displays come alive at your touch, cascading streams of data that tell the story of your continued existence. Atmospheric pressure, 14.2 psi, steady. Oxygen concentration, 20.8%, optimal. Temperature, 21.5 degrees Celsius, comfortable. Carbon dioxide levels, 0.03%, well within safe parameters. Each number is a small victory against entropy. The life support systems never rest. Even now, as you read their status reports, they're working with mechanical devotion to keep you alive. The oxygen scrubbers strip CO2 from the air you breathe, breaking it down a molecule by a molecule and releasing oxygen back into the atmosphere you share with your crewmates. The water recyclers process every drop of moisture, from the humidity in your breath to the water you washed with this morning, purifying it through filters that would impress the most paranoid germaphobe. You trace the system diagrams with your finger, following the flow of life through pipes and ducts and filters. Backup systems monitor primary systems, which are monitored by tertiary systems, which are monitored by you. Redundancy is religion here. If one system fails, another takes over. If that one fails, a third stands ready. If all 3 fail, you have approximately 4 hours to fix something or begin composing final messages to Earth. The atmospheric processor hums in its dedicated compartment, a machine the size of a refrigerator that performs the work of an entire planet's biosphere. It takes the thin, toxic Martian atmosphere, 95% carbon dioxide, 3% nitrogen, traces of argon and other gases, and transforms a small portion of it into something human lungs can process. The energy requirements are enormous, drawing power from the nuclear reactor that beats like an artificial heart beneath your feet. You check the reactor's status with particular care. The small modular reactor that powers your outpost generates heat through controlled nuclear fission, converting that heat to electricity through thermoelectric generators that have no moving parts to fail. The fuel pellets are rated for 20 years of operation, but out here, rated for and will definitely last, occupy different universes. Radiation shielding, optimal. Coolant flow, normal. Power output, steady at 47 kilowatts. The numbers glow green on your display, but you have learned to read between the lines of mechanical optimism. The water recycling system demands its own attention. every molecule of H2O on Mars had to be brought from Earth or extracted from the Martian soil at enormous energy cost. The recycling efficiency stands at 98.2%, a number that sounds impressive until you calculate what that 1.8% loss means over months and years. You're slowly losing water to an alien world, a molecular hemorrhage that must be constantly monitored and compensated for. The system status shows normal operations, but normal on Mars carries different weight than normal on Earth. The filters are approaching their replacement cycle, still within specifications but aging toward the day when they'll need to be swapped out with precious spares. The reverse osmosis membranes show microscopic wear patterns that Earth-based systems never encounter, stressed by the constant processing of water that's been through more cycles than any H2O molecule ever experienced in nature. Solar panel efficiency draws your eye to a troubling trend. The arrays that supplement your nuclear power are slowly losing effectiveness as Martian dust accumulates on their surfaces. Today's reading, 73% efficiency down from yesterday's 74%. The decline is steady, inexorable, like watching your lifespan measured in percentages. Dust storms can drop efficiency to near zero in a matter of hours, leaving you entirely dependent on nuclear power until the storms pass and cleaning protocols can be implemented. You pull up the weather monitoring data, Mars's attempt to give you advance warning of its moods. Atmospheric pressure is stable across the region, but a dust storm is forming 300 kilometers to the southwest, a swirling mass of iron oxide particles that could reach you in 18 hours if the winds shift. The storm is still small by Martian standards, what Earth might call a dust devil, but even minor weather events here can threaten your survival. You flag it for continued monitoring and update the crew briefing schedule. The communication array status tells its own story of isolation. The high-gain antenna maintains lock with Earth, but signal strength varies with planetary rotation and atmospheric interference. Today you have a clear window for data transmission, but in 6 hours Mars will rotate enough to put the bulk of the planet between you and home. The backup antennas stand ready, but they lack the power to maintain voice communication across interplanetary distances. Environmental controls work overtime to maintain the illusion of habitability. The heating system draws power constantly, fighting against the Martian cold that would freeze your habitat solid in hours if the power failed. External temperature, minus 67 degrees Celsius. Internal temperature, 21.5 degrees Celsius. The differential represents a constant energy battle against thermodynamics, one that you can never stop fighting. Air filtration systems remove dust that infiltrates despite your best sealing efforts. Martian regolith is fine as talcum powder and more corrosive than sandpaper, with a static charge that makes it cling to everything. It gets into seals, clogs filters, and grinds away at mechanical components with the patience of geological time. The filters show elevated particle counts from yesterday's EVA preparation, a reminder that every exposure to the outside world brings contamination. Fire suppression systems stand ready for emergencies you hope never to face. Fire in a closed environment is particularly deadly, not just from heat and flame, but from the smoke and toxic gases that have nowhere to go. The system can flood compartments with inert gas, depriving flames of oxygen, but it can also deprive humans of oxygen if protocols aren't followed precisely. You verify the manual overrides in emergency breathing apparatus locations, knowledge you carry like a talisman. The gravity simulator in the habitat's rotating section reports normal operation, but normal here means a complex mechanical ballet that spins part of your living space to provide the illusion of weight. Bearings wear, motors age, and the day will come when the rotation must stop for maintenance. When that happens, you'll float in microgravity while repairs are made. Your bones and muscles paying the price for mechanical necessity. You document everything in the maintenance log, adding today's readings to a database that Earth monitors with algorithmic intensity. Every fluctuation, every trend, every deviation from nominal operations gets analysed by teams of engineers who are 12 minutes away from being able to help you. They can send advice, run simulations, and calculate probabilities, but they can't reach through the void to turn a wrench or replace a failing component. The spare parts inventory makes for sobering reading. Critical components, adequate for now, backup systems, mostly complete, consumables, within acceptable parameters but declining. Every repair uses parts that cannot be replaced. Every failure consumes resources that cannot be replenished. You are slowly using up your margin for error. trading mechanical complexity for the simple act of staying alive. Marcus appears at your shoulder, reviewing the overnight reports from the systems he monitors. Atmospheric processor cycled twice during third shift, he notes, pointing to anomalous spikes in the data stream. Probably dust contamination in the intake filters. I'll swap them out during today's maintenance window. You nod, grateful for his expertise and attention to detail. In this place, competence is a form of love. Every careful action, every double-check reading, every proactive repair is a gift to your crewmates' continued survival. You trust these people with your life, not because of friendship or affection, but because they've earned that trust through thousands of small acts of professional excellence. The systems check concludes with green lights across the board, but green lights on Mars carry asterisks and footnotes. Everything works, for now, within acceptable parameters, assuming no unexpected failures. The dance with death continues for another day, and the machines that keep you alive have agreed to keep dancing. Tomorrow you'll perform this ritual again, checking the health of the systems that check your health, maintaining the maintainers, watching the watchers. Outside the reinforced windows, Mars continues its ancient indifference to your technological intrusion. The morning light reveals landscapes that have remained unchanged for millions of years, sculpted by forces that dwarf your habitat's environmental controls. Wind and time have carved canyons that could swallow your entire mission, and the planet's thin atmosphere offers no protection from the radiation that slowly damages every component of your life support systems. But for now, this morning, Sol 847, the machines are winning. The numbers are green, the backups have backups, and you have successfully negotiated another night with the forces of entropy. In an hour, you'll suit up and venture outside, trusting your life to systems even more complex and fragile than the ones that keep your habitat livable. But that's a different dance, with different risks and different rewards. The chronometer reads 0845, time to prepare for EVA, to check the systems that will keep you alive outside, to add another layer of technology between yourself and the vacuum. The morning's ritual is complete. You've counted your mechanical blessings and found them sufficient. Time to go outside and play among the alien stones, carrying Earth's atmosphere on your back like a technological prayer. 8:45 to 10 o'clock Mars Standard Time. 2 hours of preparation for 4 hours outside. The mathematics of EVA on Mars are unforgiving. Every minute spent in the alien environment demands 30 minutes of careful preparation, checking and double-checking systems that must work perfectly on the first try. There are no second chances in a place where the atmosphere can't support life and the nearest hospital is 140 million miles away. The EVA prep room feels more like a spacecraft assembly facility than a changing area. Your spacesuit hangs on its maintenance frame like a hollow person waiting to be inhabited, its white shell scarred by previous encounters with Martian dust and radiation. This isn't the bulky, mobility-restricting suit of early space exploration. This is a marvel of engineering, a personal life support system that will become your world for the next 4 hours. You begin with the ritual of pre-breathing, settling into the preparation chair as pure oxygen flows through the mask clamped over your nose and mouth. The process will take 90 minutes. Time needed to purge nitrogen from your bloodstream and prevent decompression sickness when you transition to the suit's lower pressure environment. It's meditative in its enforced stillness, giving you time to mentally prepare for the transition from habitat dweller to planetary explorer. Chen joins you for buddy system prep, her movements already showing the practiced efficiency of someone who's done this dance hundreds of times. EVA partnerships are sacred bonds forged in mutual dependence. You will trust each other's attention to detail with your lives, and she will trust yours. On Mars, there's no room for ego or carelessness. Everything is checked twice by 2 people, with documentation that Earth reviews after every excursion. Atmospheric pressure holding steady, Chen reports, scanning the weather monitoring display. Dust storm is tracking northeast, should miss us by at least 200 kilometers. Solar activity minimal. Good day for a walk. Her tone carries the professional calm that masks the reality that you're about to venture into one of the most hostile environments humans have ever encountered. The suit inspection begins with the helmet, your window to another world and your most critical life support component. You examine the polycarbonate visor for microfractures, checking the heating elements that prevent fogging and the communication systems that will keep you connected to your partner and the habitat. The gold-tinted outer visor bears the scars of previous EVAs, tiny pits from micrometeorite impacts and scratches from Martian dust that's harder than Earth sand. Every seal gets scrutinized with the intensity of a surgeon examining arterial connections. The helmet ring, the glove attachments, the boot interfaces, each represents a potential leak point where Mars could intrude into your personal atmosphere. You trace the rubber gaskets with gloved fingers, looking for degradation, checking the mechanical locks that will maintain pressure integrity in the Martian vacuum. The suit's life support backpack is a marvel of miniaturization. Oxygen tanks, carbon dioxide scrubbers, battery packs, cooling systems, and communication equipment packed into a volume smaller than an Earth camping backpack. You verify oxygen pressure, nominal, CO2 scrubber, cartridges, fresh, battery charge 100%, cooling fluid levels optimal, water reservoir full. Each component represents hundreds of person-hours of engineering, tested and retested in thermal vacuum chambers that simulate the conditions you're about to face. Chen mirrors your inspection on her own equipment, both of you following protocols developed through decades of spacewalks and refined by the harsh lessons of Mars exploration. The buddy system isn't just about redundancy, it's about bringing different perspectives to the same critical tasks. What one person might miss, the other will catch. Your lives depend on the assumption that two careful people are better than one expert. The suit itself tells the story of your previous excursions. Dust has worked its way into every seam despite your best cleaning efforts, and the white fabric bears the rust-coloured stains of a world that bleeds iron oxide. The knee patches show wear from kneeling to collect samples, and the fingertips of the gloves are slightly abraded from handling Martian rock. Each mark is a badge of exploration, evidence of humanity's careful intrusion into an alien landscape. Donning the suit is a process that transforms you from human to hybrid, part person, part machine, wholly dependent on the technology that encases you. The lower torso goes on first, a complex assembly of mobility joints, life support connections, and pressure seals. The hard upper torso follows, locking into place with the mechanical certainty that you test by tugging and twisting. Every connection must be perfect, every seal must hold. The gloves are engineering marvels that translate your human dexterity through layers of pressure, bladders, and protective shells. Inside, your hands will work against constant pressure, finger movements requiring extra effort as you manipulate tools and collect samples. The gloves are custom fitted to your hands, but they still feel like bulky mittens compared to the naked sensitivity you've evolved to expect from your fingertips. Chen helps you into the life support backpack, checking connections as the weight settles across your shoulders. The pack contains your personal atmosphere, your power supply, your communication lifeline, everything you need to survive in a world that offers nothing but rocks and radiation. The weight distribution has been carefully calculated, but after 4 hours of EVA, every ounce will feel like a lead weight. Systems integration tests begin as the suit comes alive around you. Oxygen flow confirmed, pressure regulation nominal, communication systems, clear transmission and reception, cooling loops circulating properly, battery power optimal. Each system must work not just individually but in harmony with all the others. Failure of any single component could cascade into life-threatening emergencies. The final helmet connection is performed with ceremonial precision. Chen guides the helmet over your head as you align the neck ring, rotating the locking mechanism until the mechanical connections click into place. The suit pressurizes with a subtle hiss, and suddenly you're breathing processed air, hearing your own breathing amplified in the enclosed space, seeing the world through a curved piece of transparent armor. Pressure integrity check, Chen announces, beginning the final verification sequence. The suit inflates slightly as internal pressure builds, and you perform the prescribed mobility tests, bending arms, flexing fingers, walking a few steps to verify that all joints move freely. The suit feels simultaneously bulky and intimate, a technological skin that isolates you from the outside world while enabling you to survive in it. Communication checks follow. Internal comm with Chen, external comm with Marcus and Yuki in the habitat, emergency channels that connect you to Earth when propagation delays allow. Your voice sounds different inside the helmet, filtered through digital processing and transmitted through radio waves. Even human speech becomes technological when mediated by the requirements of survival. Emergency procedures review is mandatory before every EVA. Loss of communication protocol, establish visual contact and proceed to predetermined rally point. Suit breach procedure, emergency patch kit location and application. Partner assistance techniques, how to help each other in crisis situations, abort conditions, when to abandon the mission, and return immediately to habitat. The scenarios are practiced until they become muscle memory, responses that could save your life when conscious thought becomes impossible. Chen begins her own suiting procedure as you run final diagnostics on your equipment. The prep room fills with the quiet sounds of technological preparation, the whisper of oxygen flow, the soft beeps of system confirmations, the mechanical clicking of connections being made and tested. These are the sounds of humanity preparing to venture into the inhuman, of life preparing to visit a place where life has never existed. Final weight and balance checks ensure that both of you can move effectively in the reduced Martian gravity. The suits are heavy by Earth standards, but will feel lighter outside, where everything weighs 38% of its terrestrial mass. Still, 4 hours of EVA and even reduced gravity will test your endurance and the suit's life support capacity. Airlock protocol review is the last checkpoint before departure. Entry procedures, pressure equalization timing, emergency abort sequences. The airlock is your transition chamber between worlds, the place where Earth atmosphere meets Martian vacuum, where human technology negotiates with the alien environment. Every cycle of the airlock represents a small victory over the forces that want to empty your habitat into space. Tool inventory and mission objectives get final verification. Sample collection equipment, geological analysis instruments, photography gear, emergency repair supplies. Every tool has been selected for specific purposes and weight limitations. Every objective has been planned to maximize scientific return while minimizing risk exposure. You're not just going for a walk, you're conducting carefully orchestrated exploration of another planet. Chen's suit pressurization completes successfully, and she performs her own mobility and systems checks. 2 humans, now transformed into hybrid technological beings, ready to venture into an environment that has remained largely unchanged for millions of years. Your suits contain Earth atmospheres, Earth pressures, Earth temperatures, bubbles of home that will travel with you across an alien landscape. All systems green, Chen reports, her voice now processed through her suit's communication system, ready for airlock cycle. Confirmed, you respond, feeling the familiar mix of excitement and controlled fear that precedes every EVA. In a few minutes, you'll step outside and become one of the few humans to walk on another planet, to breathe bottled air while surrounded by an atmosphere that would kill you in seconds. The chronometer reads 10 o'clock Mars Standard Time. 2 hours of preparation complete, 4 hours of exploration about to begin. You've transformed yourself from habitat dweller to planetary explorer, from human to hybrid, from Earth-dependent to self-contained. The suit that encases you represents thousands of years of human ingenuity, compressed into a personal spacecraft that will carry you safely across the surface of Mars. Time to cross the threshold between worlds, to step from the artificial Earth of your habitat into the authentic alienness of another planet. Your suit hums quietly around you, mechanical guardian angel ready to keep you alive in a place where angels have never flown. 10 o'clock to 11:30 Mars Standard Time. The airlock cycles with mechanical deliberation, equalizing pressure between your artificial Earth and the alien vacuum beyond. Your suit registers the change, internal pressure holding steady at 4.3 psi, while the chamber around you drops toward the near-nothingness of Martian atmosphere. The process takes 3 minutes that feel like hours, your heartbeat amplified in your helmet as anticipation builds with each incremental pressure drop. Chen's voice crackles through your comm system. External pressure nominal, airlock cycle complete, ready for EVA initiation. The outer door unseals with a soft hiss, the last breath of Earth air escaping into the Martian morning. Beyond the threshold lies a world that has waited 4 billion years for visitors, a landscape unchanged since before life crawled from Earth's primordial oceans. You're about to become one of fewer than 50 humans to ever walk on the surface of another planet. Your first step crosses the threshold between worlds. The sensation is immediate and disorienting. Your boot contacts regolith that has never known rain, never felt the pressure of evolved life, never been disturbed except by wind and the occasional meteorite impact. The crunch beneath your feet is crisp and dry, a sound unlike any Earth's surface. Through your suit's audio pickups, it carries a hollow quality, filtered through atmosphere too thin to properly conduct sound waves. Mars gravity takes hold of you with alien gentleness. At 38% of Earth normal, Every movement feels simultaneously effortless and unstable. Your trained reflexes expect different physics. Your steps want to bound higher. Your gestures swing farther than intended. The suit's mass distribution, carefully calibrated for Martian conditions, helps ground you, but the fundamental wrongness of the gravity will take time to internalize. The landscape stretches before you with breathtaking desolation. Ancient riverbeds carve through terrain that tells the story of a world that once might have been green, might have carried the sounds of flowing water beneath skies that could have been blue. Now it spreads in shades of rust and amber, iron oxide painting everything the colour of dried blood. The horizon curves too sharply, revealing the smaller circumference of this world, the way distances compress on a planet 2/3 the size of home. Your helmet's heads-up display overlays the alien vista with familiar Earth technology, navigation markers, communication status, life support readouts, mission timers. The dichotomy is profound, standing on a world older than multicellular life while surrounded by humanity's most advanced technology. You are simultaneously the most isolated human in the solar system and the most connected, your every breath monitored by computers, your location tracked by satellites, your vital signs transmitted to worried engineers 140 million miles away. Magnificent desolation, Chen murmurs over the comm, unconsciously echoing Buzz Aldrin's words from humanity's first steps on another world. But Mars offers a different kind of magnificence than the Moon. Not the stark black and white drama of lunar landscapes, but the subtle complexity of a world that once harboured oceans and weather, seasonal cycles and polar ice caps. This is desolation with a history, emptiness that remembers fullness. You take your second step, then your third, each one carrying you farther from the safety of the habitat into the authentic alienness of planetary exploration. The regolith shifts slightly under your weight, revealing layers of dust and pebbles that have lain undisturbed for millennia. Your footprints will remain here for years, possibly decades, preserved in the thin atmosphere until wind eventually smooths them away. The sky above defies every evolutionary expectation. Instead of blue, it spreads in butterscotch and salmon, colours that have no names in human languages because humans never evolved under such skies. The sun hangs smaller and more distant, still recognisably Sol but diminished by 140 million additional miles. It provides light but little warmth, its radiation filtered through the atmosphere too thin to scatter blue wavelengths effectively. Your peripheral vision is constrained by the helmet's field of view, creating a tunnel vision effect that requires constant head movement to maintain situational awareness. The sensation is claustrophobic and liberating simultaneously, isolated within your technological cocoon, but free to explore a world no human eyes have seen from this vantage point. Every glance reveals new details. The geometric patterns of frost-enshadowed craters, the way Martian dust clings to every surface with electrostatic persistence, the absolute clarity of views unfiltered by significant atmosphere. Base, this is EVA team. You report to Marcus and Yuki monitoring from the habitat. External conditions nominal. Visibility unlimited. Proceeding to primary collection site. Your voice sounds strange even to yourself, processed through digital systems and transmitted via radio waves across frequencies that never carried human speech until humans brought that capability to Mars. The walk to your first collection site takes 15 minutes across terrain that challenges every step. Martian regolith is fine as talcum powder but abrasive as sandpaper, with a tendency to work its way into every joint and seal of your equipment. Your boots kick up small clouds of dust that hang in the thin air longer than Earth dust would, creating momentary rust-coloured hazes that obscure your vision. Chen moves beside you with the practiced gait of someone who's learned to walk on an alien world. Her suit bears the same rust-coloured stains as yours, badges of previous expeditions into this environment that marks everything it touches. The two of you represent humanity's presence on Mars, a temporary intrusion into a world that has spent 4 billion years in silence. Rock formations rise around you like ancient monuments, sculpted by wind and time into shapes that suggest familiar forms but refuse to resolve into anything Earth-like. The geology tells stories of catastrophic floods that carved channels the size of continents, of volcanic activity that built mountains taller than any on Earth, of climate changes that transformed this world from a place that might have supported life into the frozen desert that surrounds you now. Your suit's cooling system works constantly to manage the heat generated by your exertion and the life support equipment. External temperature reads -47 degrees Celsius, but your personal environment maintains comfortable shirt-sleeve conditions. You exist in a bubble of Earth conditions, carrying your planet's atmosphere and temperature with you as you explore a world that offers neither. The communication delay with Earth means you're operating in real-time isolation despite constant monitoring. Mission Control can see your telemetry, can review your helmet camera feeds, can analyze your life support status, but they cannot provide immediate guidance or assistance. You and Chen are humanity's representatives in this moment, making decisions and discoveries that Earth will learn about 12 minutes after they happen. A dust devil appears on the horizon, a thin column of swirling particles that would barely rate attention on Earth but commands respect on Mars. The atmospheric pressure here is so low that even minor weather phenomena can generate static electricity and equipment interference. You track its movement with professional interest, noting wind speed and direction for the mission weather logs while maintaining safe distance from its path. The landscape bears the scars of humanity's previous visits, rover tracks from robotic explorers that preceded your arrival, the geometric precision of previous EVA routes, the subtle disturbances where samples have been collected and experiments conducted. You're not the first to walk here, but you remain part of a group small enough that each footstep carries historical significance. Your helmet's audio pickups capture the subtle sounds of this world, the whisper of wind across stone, the soft hiss of dust particles striking your suit, the mechanical breathing of your life support system. These are sounds no human heard until humans brought the technology to hear them. Mars had been silent for billions of years before you arrived to break that silence with footsteps and radio chatter and the quiet hum of civilization maintaining itself in a place where civilization was never meant to exist. The primary collection site comes into view, an outcrop of layered rock that promises geological insights into Mars's watery past. The formation rises from the regolith like a natural cathedral, its stratified walls telling the story of ancient floods and sedimentary deposits laid down when this world was young and possibly alive. You pause at the edge of the collection area, taking a moment to absorb the profound strangeness of your situation. You are standing on another planet, breathing bottled air under an alien sky, about to collect samples that might contain evidence of life beyond Earth. The weight of that responsibility settles on your shoulders alongside the life support backpack. You are not just an explorer, but a representative of your entire species, the hands and eyes of humanity reaching across the void to touch another world. Collection site reached, you report to the habitat, beginning sample acquisition protocol. Chen activates the documentation systems, her helmet camera recording everything for later analysis on Earth. Every sample you collect will be photographed, catalogued, analysed and stored with the precision of evidence in the universe's most important court case. The question you're here to investigate, whether life ever existed on Mars, could reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. The alien morning continues its slow progression across a sky that will never be blue, illuminating landscapes that predate human civilization by billions of years. You have crossed the threshold between worlds and found yourself transformed not just by technology, but by perspective. You're no longer simply human, you're humanity's ambassador to the cosmos, walking proof that life can travel between planets, can adapt to alien environments, can carry curiosity across the vast distances that separate worlds. Time to begin the work that brought you 140 million miles from home to search for signs of life in a place where life may never have existed. To ask questions that only standing on another planet can properly frame. 11:30 to 1 p.m. Mars Standard Time. Every rock you're about to touch could rewrite the story of life in the universe. The weight of that possibility settles into your consciousness as you approach the stratified outcrop, your gloved hands already reaching for the sampling equipment that represents humanity's most sophisticated attempt to answer the question that brought you 140 million miles from home. Are we alone? The rock formation before you is a geological library written in stone, its layers telling the story of ancient Mars when this world might have been warm, might have had flowing water, might have provided the conditions where life could emerge and flourish. Each stratum represents thousands of years of deposition, sediments laid down in environments that existed when Earth was still a young planet populated only by microbes. Chen sets up the documentation station with methodical precision, her helmet camera recording every angle of the outcrop while spectrometers begin their initial analysis of the rock face. The instruments paint the stone with invisible light, reading its chemical composition in wavelengths that reveal secrets hidden for billions of years. Iron oxide signatures confirm what your eyes already tell you. This world bleeds rust. But other readings hint at more interesting chemistry. Sulfur compounds, carbonates, trace organics that could be biological or merely the result of ancient geological processes. You activate your handheld X-ray fluorescence spectrometer, a device that would have seemed like magic to previous generations of geologists but feels routine in your gloved hands. The instrument bathes a small section of rock in high-energy radiation, causing atoms to fluoresce in characteristic patterns that reveal elemental composition. The readout streams across your helmet display. Silicon, aluminum, iron, magnesium, the basic building blocks of planetary geology, but also sulfur, chlorine, and traces of carbon that make your pulse quicken, despite your scientific training. Getting interesting readings in the lower strata, you report to Chen, who adjusts her sampling strategy accordingly. The buddy system applies to science as well as safety. 2 sets of eyes, 2 perspectives, 2 chances to spot the anomaly that could change everything. Your combined expertise represents decades of training, from undergraduate geology through advanced astrobiology, all compressed into this moment of contact between human curiosity and alien stone. The drill begins its work with mechanical determination, boring into rock that has remained undisturbed since before complex life existed on Earth. The diamond-tipped bit carves through stone with precision measured in millimeters, each layer potentially containing evidence of ancient microbial communities. The drilling process generates heat that could destroy delicate organic compounds, so the operation proceeds slowly, with frequent pauses for cooling and debris removal. Core samples emerge from the drill like geological time capsules, cylindrical sections of Martian history that you handle with reverence appropriate to potential evidence of extraterrestrial life. Each sample gets photographed from multiple angles, its position precisely documented, its context recorded in field notes that will be analysed by teams of scientists on Earth. The chain of custody begins here, in this moment, with your gloved hands carefully placing samples into sterile containers. The microscopic analysis begins immediately using your suit's built-in field microscope, a marvel of miniaturization that brings laboratory capabilities to planetary exploration. At 400 times magnification, the rock reveals its internal structure. Mineral grains locked in crystalline matrices, evidence of water activity in the form of oxidation patterns, and structures that could be biosignatures or could be the result of non-biological processes that mimic life's signatures. One particular sample stops you cold. Under magnification, the rock reveals organized structures, spherical formations arranged in patterns that suggest biological origin. The shapes are consistent with fossilized microbial mats, the kind of bacterial communities that dominated Earth's early biosphere. But Mars is notorious for producing geological formations that mimic biological structures, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Chen, take a look at core sample 847-06, you say, your voice carefully controlled despite the excitement building in your chest. She adjusts her position to peer through the field microscope, her breathing audible through the comm system as she processes what she's seeing. Spherical structures, organized distribution, size consistent with fossilized microbes, she confirms, her scientific training warring with the same excitement you're feeling. Could be biological, could be mineral precipitation patterns. We need spectral analysis. The portable RAM spectrometer comes online, firing laser light into the sample to analyze molecular vibrations that reveal chemical bonds and structures. The technique can distinguish between organic compounds produced by life and similar molecules created by non-biological processes. The data streams across your displays in wavelengths and frequencies that tell a story more complex than visual inspection alone could reveal. Organic carbon signatures appear in the spectral data, molecules containing carbon-hydrogen bonds that are the foundation of life as Earth understands it. But organic doesn't necessarily mean biological. Carbon chemistry is complex, and Mars has had billions of years to create organic compounds through purely geological processes. Still, the combination of morphological structures and chemical signatures builds a compelling case that demands further investigation. You document everything with obsessive attention to detail, knowing that every photograph, every measurement, every observation will be scrutinized by the global scientific community. The protocols for potential life detection are rigorous. requiring multiple lines of evidence and independent confirmation. What you're seeing could be the most important discovery in human history, or it could be an interesting example of convergent evolution in mineral formation. The communication delay with Earth adds temporal isolation to your scientific excitement. Mission Control won't know what you've found for 12 minutes, won't be able to provide guidance or share your enthusiasm until the light carrying your discovery has crawled across the solar system at cosmic speed limit. You and Chen are alone with the possibility that you're looking at evidence of ancient Martian life, the first humans to see proof that life has existed beyond Earth. Additional samples come out of the drill, each one potentially containing similar structures. The outcrop appears to represent an ancient streambed or lake bottom, exactly the kind of environment where microbial life might have flourished during Mars's warmer, wetter past. Layer upon layer of sedimentary rock tells the story of water flowing, depositing organic materials, creating conditions where life could emerge and potentially thrive. The portable gas chromatograph mass spectrometer begins its analysis of organic compounds extracted from the samples, breaking down complex molecules into component parts that can be identified and quantified. The results will take time to process, but preliminary readings show carbon compounds that could represent biological activity. Alternatively, they could represent the kind of organic chemistry that occurs naturally in space, delivered to planetary surfaces by comets and meteorites. Your suit's environmental systems work harder as your exertion and excitement increase metabolic demands. The life support backpack compensates automatically, increasing oxygen flow and heat rejection to maintain optimal conditions inside your personal spacecraft. Even your body's physiological responses to potential discovery are monitored and recorded, part of the comprehensive data stream that documents every aspect of human exploration of another world. Chen begins collecting control samples from areas adjacent to the potentially biological structures, establishing the geological context that will help differentiate between biological and non-biological processes. Science demands skepticism, multiple hypotheses, rigorous testing of alternatives. The history of astrobiology is littered with false alarms and premature conclusions, discoveries that seemed revolutionary until more careful analysis revealed mundane explanations. The field laboratory equipment represents millions of dollars of miniaturized technology, instruments that would have filled entire university departments compressed into backpack portable packages designed to survive the rigors of planetary exploration. Each device has been tested in thermal vacuum chambers, radiation fields, and dust storms that simulate Martian conditions. Now they perform their designed function, extending human senses into realms of chemistry and biology that natural evolution never prepared you to perceive. Time pressure adds urgency to the scientific investigation. EVA duration is limited by life support capacity, battery power, and the physical endurance required to operate in bulky spacesuits under alien gravity. Every minute spent on detailed analysis is a minute less available for additional sample collection. But the potential significance of these structures demands thorough investigation before moving on. The documentation process continues with photogrammetry, creating three-dimensional models of the sample sites that will allow Earth-based scientists to virtually visit this location and examine the geological context in detail. Multiple camera angles capture every nuance of the rock formations, every relationship between different layers, every piece of evidence that might support or refute biological interpretations. Radio chatter with the habitat keeps Marcus and Yuki informed of your progress, their voices carrying across the Martian landscape with news that could transform humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. They're monitoring weather patterns, tracking your life support status, maintaining the technological umbilical cord that connects you to safety while you pursue discovery in one of the most remote locations ever visited by human beings. The morning's scientific work has yielded more questions than answers, as good science often does. The structures you've found are tantalizing, the chemistry is suggestive, but the evidence remains circumstantial. Proving that life once existed on Mars will require multiple independent confirmations, careful elimination of alternative hypotheses, and the kind of rigorous peer review that only comes after samples return to Earth laboratories. But standing here, on another planet, holding rocks that might contain fossilized evidence of extraterrestrial life, you feel the profound significance of the moment. Regardless of what final analysis reveals, you are conducting humanity's most ambitious search for life beyond Earth. using tools and techniques that represent the culmination of scientific achievement to investigate questions that have haunted human curiosity since we first looked up at the stars. The chronometer reads 1300 hours. Time is running short for today's EVA, but the samples you've collected and the data you've gathered will fuel years of analysis and debate. Whether or not you've found evidence of Martian life, you've certainly found evidence of Mars's capacity to surprise and challenge human understanding. The search for life continues, one rock sample at a time, in the patient tradition of science, advancing through careful observation, rigorous testing, and the kind of systematic investigation that only becomes possible when humans carry their curiosity across the void to touch other worlds with gloved hands and sophisticated instruments. 1300 to 1430 Mars Standard Time. The dust storm appears on the horizon like a wall of judgment, rising from the Martian plains with the inevitability of a natural disaster and the speed of oncoming death. What your morning weather briefing had predicted as a minor disturbance 300 kilometers away has intensified and changed course, now bearing down on your location with the fury of a planet that tolerates no intrusions. Base, this is EVA team, Chen's voice cuts through the comm with professional calm that can't quite mask the urgency beneath. We have visual on major dust storm approaching from southeast. Estimate contact in 47 minutes. The storm front stretches across the horizon like a russet tsunami, towering kilometers into the thin atmosphere with an ominous beauty that would be breathtaking if it weren't potentially lethal. Martian dust storms can last for weeks, can cover entire hemispheres, can reduce visibility to zero while coating everything with abrasive particles that infiltrate seals and clog filters. But that's not your immediate problem. Your immediate problem announces itself with a soft chime in your helmet. A sound as innocuous as a text message notification, but carrying the weight of catastrophe. Your suit's heads-up display flashes yellow, then amber, then the red that makes your blood run cold. Power system anomaly. Battery pack breach detected. The numbers tell a story of cascading failure. Battery capacity, 47% and dropping. Power consumption, elevated due to increased life support demands. Estimated remaining operation time, 47 minutes. Distance to habitat, 1.8 kilometers. Walking time in reduced gravity with full equipment load, 23 minutes under normal conditions. But these are not normal conditions. You run a quick diagnostic while Chen continues monitoring the approaching storm. The micrometeorite impact site is visible in your rear-view mirror display, a puncture no larger than a pinhead in your life support backpack, but large enough to allow the slow hemorrhaging, hedging of electrical power that keeps you alive. The self-sealing mechanisms have contained the breach, but the damage is done. One of your battery cells has been compromised, and the others are working overtime to compensate. "Houston, we have a problem," you mutter, unconsciously echoing Apollo 13's famous understatement. The communication delay means Earth won't know about your crisis for 12 minutes, won't be able to offer advice for 24 minutes total. By then, you'll either be safe in the habitat or dead on the Martian surface. This is humanity's eternal isolation made manifest. When death comes calling on Mars, you face it alone. Chen's suit telemetry shows normal operations, but her power levels won't matter if she has to carry you back to base. The buddy system that protects you in normal operations becomes a liability in crisis. She can't abandon you, but staying with you could kill you both. The mathematics of survival are unforgiving. 2 people die more easily than 1. Power anomaly confirmed, you report to Chen, your voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding your system. Training takes over, years of emergency protocols overriding the mammalian panic response that wants to run screaming across the Martian landscape. Battery breach in Pack 2, estimated 43 minutes remaining power. Chen's response is immediate and professional. Copy power emergency. Initiating emergency protocols. Base, we need immediate weather update and fastest route home. The storm looms larger with each passing minute, its leading edge now clearly defined against the butterscotch sky. Electrostatic discharge flickers within the dust cloud like trapped lightning, and you know that when it hits, your radio communications will be reduced to static. The storm will bring darkness, disorientation, and the kind of fine dust that can clog air filters and override cooling systems. But first you have to survive the walk home with failing power. Marcus's voice crackles through the comm from the habitat. EVA team, storm front moving faster than predicted. You have approximately 38 minutes before visibility drops to dangerous levels. Recommend immediate return via Route Alpha 7 minimal sample collection. 38 minutes until the storm hits. 43 minutes of power remaining. 23 minutes to reach safety if everything goes perfectly. The margins for error have collapsed to almost nothing, and perfection is a luxury that Mars rarely allows. You begin the emergency pack-up procedures, abandoning the careful scientific protocols that normally govern sample handling. The rocks that might contain evidence of extraterrestrial life get stuffed into collection bags with efficiency that prioritizes survival over scientific rigor. Every second spent on documentation is a second less available for the walk that will determine whether you live or die. The landscape that seemed magnificent 20 minutes ago now feels hostile and alien in the worst possible way. The distance to the habitat stretches across terrain that suddenly looks treacherous. Loose regolith that could cause falls, rock formations that could provide shelter from the storm, but would also trap you away from life support systems, the gentle undulations that hide obstacles and extend walking distances. Your breathing has become audible in the helmet, and the suit's audio pickups amplify every inhalation into a reminder of your dependence on mechanical systems. 39 minutes of power. The countdown has become the soundtrack to your survival, each minute ticking away with mechanical precision, while your body demands more oxygen, more cooling, more of everything the failing batteries provide. Chen moves with the practiced efficiency of someone who's trained for exactly this scenario. But training and reality occupy different universes. The emergency protocols assume ideal conditions, perfect terrain, optimal equipment performance. They don't account for the psychological pressure of watching power levels drop while a planet-wide dust storm approaches with the patience of geological time and the speed of catastrophe. Base, recommend you prep airlock for the emergency cycle, Chen radios ahead. We're going to be cutting it close on power and weather. The walk back begins with deceptive ease. Martian gravity makes the equipment feel lighter, and your training has prepared your muscles for exactly this kind of exertion. But the suit's power consumption increases with physical activity, and the failing battery pack struggles to maintain optimal life support parameters. The cooling system cycles more frequently, the oxygen flow increases to match your elevated metabolism, and the communication systems draw power to maintain contact with the habitat. 36 minutes of power remaining. 12 minutes walking time elapsed. The mathematics still work in your favour, but the margin for error continues to shrink with each step. The terrain becomes treacherous as you approach a field of loose boulders deposited by ancient floods. Each step requires careful placement, each movement calculated to avoid falls that could damage equipment or delay your return. Chen leads the way, testing footing and identifying the safest path while you follow, conserving energy and power for the final approach to safety. Behind you, the storm front has grown to fill half the sky, a wall of swirling dust that moves with deceptive speed across the Martian plains. The leading edge shows the characteristic static discharge of particles colliding in the thin atmosphere, and you know that when it reaches you, visibility will drop to near zero in minutes. The fine Martian dust will find its way into every seal, every joint, every gap in your equipment. 32 minutes of power, 16 minutes walking time, 8 minutes to habitat. The numbers align in your favour, but mechanical systems don't fail according to mathematical predictions. Power drain could accelerate if cooling systems work harder, if communication systems boost signal strength to penetrate the approaching interference, if any of a dozen critical systems demand additional electrical support. Your breathing becomes laboured as physical exertion combines with psychological stress and the slight reduction in oxygen flow that comes with battery degradation. The suit compensates automatically, but its responses are limited by the power available to drive life support systems. You're experiencing the cascade effect that makes EVA emergencies so dangerous. Each problem creates additional problems. Each failure point stresses other systems. Chen's voice maintains its professional calm. Base, 8 minutes out. Weather front approximately 12 minutes to contact. Power situation stable but declining. Stable but declining. The phrase captures the essence of survival on Mars. Everything works until it doesn't. All systems function until they fail. Life continues until it stops. The habitat appears ahead, its geometric regularity reassuring after the organic chaos of Martian geology. Safety lies 200 meters away, but 200 meters might as well be 200 kilometers if your power fails before you reach the airlock. The final approach requires climbing a slight rise that brings the habitat's communication array into direct line of sight. Your suit's radio systems lock onto the stronger signal, but the improved communication comes at the cost of increased power drain. 28 minutes remaining. 4 minutes to airlock. The mathematics of survival have narrowed to a race between failing batteries and human endurance. The storm's leading edge reaches you just as Chen cycles the airlock outer door. Visibility drops from unlimited to 50 meters in the time it takes to cross the threshold between outside and inside. Fine dust begins coating your visor, and the electrostatic discharge in the atmosphere creates interference patterns across your helmet display. You stumble into the airlock with Chen, the outer door sealing against the approaching fury of a Martian dust storm. The chamber begins its pressure equalization cycle, and for the first time in 30 minutes, you allow yourself to believe you might survive. The airlock represents safety, the transition from the hostile environment of Mars to the protective envelope of human technology. 24 minutes of power remaining as the inner door opens and you collapse into the habitat's manufactured atmosphere. The emergency is over, but the taste of mortality lingers. Mars tried to kill you today, not through malice, but through the simple incompatibility between planetary environments and human physiology. You survived through training, technology, and the kind of luck that makes exploration possible. The dust storm rages outside, turning day into night and reducing the Martian landscape to a uniform grey-brown chaos that will last for days. Inside the habitat, life support systems hum their reassuring song, and you begin the process of documenting an emergency that could have ended humanity's presence on Mars with 2 empty spacesuits and a habitat populated only by the dead. Today you won the lottery of survival. Tomorrow Mars will try again. 14:30 to 15:45 Mars Standard Time. The airlock's inner door seals behind you with a mechanical finality that sounds like salvation. The familiar hiss of pressure equalization fills the chamber as your suits decompress from Martian EVA configuration to habitat atmospheric pressure. For the first time in nearly 5 hours, you're breathing air that hasn't travelled 140 million miles strapped to your back, surrounded by walls that weren't manufactured on Earth and shipped across the solar system. But you're not safe yet. Not completely. Mars clings to you with microscopic tenacity. The decontamination protocols begin immediately, a ritual as sacred as the morning's suit-up procedures, but with different stakes. Where this morning's preparation was about enabling survival in an alien environment, now you must prevent that alien environment from contaminating the artificial Earth of your habitat. Every particle of Martian dust carries the potential for equipment damage, atmospheric contamination, or interference with the life support systems that keep your crew alive. Chen activates the decon station's ultraviolet sterilization lamps, and the chamber fills with light that burns away microbial hitchhikers, if any exist. The UV radiation bathes every surface of your suits in wavelengths lethal to Earth-based life forms, a precaution that assumes Martian life might exist and might survive the journey from outside to inside. The irony isn't lost on you. You're sterilizing equipment that might carry evidence of the very life you've spent the day searching for. The suit removal process reverses this morning's careful donning sequence, but with the added complexity of contamination protocols. Every component must be cleaned before it can be stored, every surface wiped down with solvents that dissolve the electrostatic bond between Martian regolith and your equipment. The dust clings with supernatural persistence attracted to synthetic materials by static charges that build up in Mars's thin, dry atmosphere. Your gloves come off first, revealing hands that feel strangely naked after hours of protection. The skin is slightly wrinkled from the controlled humidity inside the gloves, and your fingers ache from the constant pressure required to operate against the suit's internal atmosphere. But they're your hands, responding to your nervous system without technological mediation, capable of feeling texture and temperature without translation through layers of protective material. The helmet disconnection is performed with ceremonial precision, Chen's hands guiding the locking ring as you feel real air against your face for the first time since morning. The habitat's atmosphere tastes different from the suit's recycled supply, slightly metallic still, but carrying hints of the hydroponic gardens, the coffee you brewed hours ago, the subtle markers of human habitation. It's manufactured air, processed through the same kinds of filters and scrubbers as your suit's supply, but it feels as natural as Earth's atmosphere after hours of technological breathing. The life support backpack separates from the suit's hard upper torso with reluctant mechanical clicks, revealing the damage that nearly killed you an hour ago. The micrometeorite puncture site is visible now, a tiny hole surrounded by a spiderweb of cracks in the battery casing. The impact occurred at precisely the wrong angle to penetrate the protective housing while missing the automatic sealing systems. Pure chance, the kind of random event that makes space exploration a continuous negotiation with probability. Chen examines the damage with the focused attention of someone whose life depends on understanding equipment failures. Impact site consistent with high-velocity particle strike, she notes for the mission log. Penetration depth approximately 3.2 mm, affecting battery cell 7 of 12. Self-sealing protocols functioned properly, but electrical integrity was compromised. You document everything with helmet cameras that recorded your entire EVA, creating a visual record of the day's discoveries and near disasters. The footage will be analysed on Earth by teams of engineers searching for lessons that might prevent future emergencies, looking for patterns in equipment failures that could inform better designs for the next generation of explorers. The suit's hard upper torso hangs on its maintenance frame like a technological skeleton, its white shell now stained with the rust-coloured patina of Mars. Every EVA leaves marks, scratches from Martian rocks, dust infiltration despite the best sealing technology, the gradual accumulation of wear that tells the story of human exploration in an environment that corrodes everything it touches. The suit has protected you faithfully, but it has paid the price of that protection. Decontamination extends beyond the suits to everything that travelled outside: sample containers, geological tools, camera equipment, emergency supplies. Each item gets wiped down with industrial solvents, scrubbed with brushes designed to remove particles measured in micrometers, then subjected to additional UV sterilisation. The process is methodical, thorough, and absolutely critical to maintaining the habitat's controlled environment. The sample containers receive special attention, their contents potentially more valuable than any material ever collected from another planet. The rocks that might contain evidence of ancient Martian life are sealed in triple barrier containment systems designed to prevent contamination in either direction. Mars material can't contaminate Earth environments, and Earth material can't contaminate Mars samples. The chain of custody continues through sterilisation, with every step documented for future scientific analysis. The psychological transition from outside to inside takes longer than the physical decontamination. Your body still expects Martian gravity, still anticipates the confined field of vision through a helmet visor, still listens for the constant whisper of life support systems. The habitat feels simultaneously spacious and cramped after hours in a spacesuit, larger than the confined world of your personal life support system, but smaller than the vast Martian landscape you've left behind. Marcus and Yuki monitor the decontamination process from the habitat's control station, ready to assist if complications arise, but maintaining protective distance from the potentially contaminated airlock area. Their faces show the relief of crewmates who've watched friends venture into mortal danger and return safely, but also the professional concern of people who understand how close today's emergency came to becoming tragedy. The environmental sensors work overtime to detect any atmospheric changes caused by the decontamination process. Air quality monitors scan for organic vapours, particulate contamination, chemical residues from cleaning solvents. The habitat's life support systems automatically compensate for minor atmospheric variations, but major contamination events could threaten the entire crew's survival. Every precaution exists for a reason written in the blood of previous explorers who learned safety lessons the hard way. Equipment maintenance begins immediately, while memories of performance issues remain fresh. The damaged battery pack goes into the repair queue, its remaining functional cells still valuable for future EVAs. Spare parts inventory gets updated, maintenance schedules adjusted based on observed wear patterns. Every component of your life support system will be inspected, tested, and documented before the next EVA. The suit's filtration systems reveal the story of your day in microscopic detail. Air filters show elevated levels of iron oxide particles despite the suit's protection, evidence of Martian dust's ability to infiltrate even the most sophisticated sealing systems. The particles are analysed for composition, size distribution, and contamination potential, data that will inform improvements to future equipment designs. Chen completes her own decontamination sequence, her movements showing the same methodical attention to detail that kept you both alive during the emergency. The buddy system continues through cleanup and equipment maintenance, two sets of eyes reviewing every step to ensure nothing is missed. Trust built during life-threatening situations extends to the mundane tasks of post-EVA procedures. The storm outside continues its assault on the habitat's exterior, but the sound is muffled by the walls designed to protect human life from planetary-scale weather events. Dust accumulates on solar panels, reducing power generation efficiency, while wind-driven particles find their way into equipment housings and ventilation intakes. The storm is a reminder that Mars never stops trying to reclaim the territory humans have borrowed from its surface. Personal decontamination follows equipment cleanup, showers with water heated by nuclear power, soap formulated to remove exotic dust particles, clothes changed and processed through wash tunnels that use precious water supplies. The mundane acts of getting clean feel luxurious after hours in a spacesuit. Simple human comforts that carry profound meaning and performed in humanity's most remote outpost. The mirror in the hygiene facility reflects a face changed by the day's experiences. Your eyes carry the particular fatigue that comes from sustained high alertness, the kind of exhaustion that results from hours of managing life-critical systems while conducting complex scientific work. But there's also something else, the satisfaction of successful exploration, the knowledge that you've added to human understanding of another world, the quiet pride of surviving when Mars tried to kill you. The day's discoveries wait for analysis in the habitat's laboratory, samples that might contain evidence of life beyond Earth, secured in containment systems that represent humanity's most sophisticated attempt to prevent contamination. Tomorrow will bring microscopic examination, chemical analysis, and the careful scientific work of determining whether you've found traces of ancient Martian biology or merely interesting examples of planetary geology. But tonight, this evening of Sol 847, you're simply grateful to be breathing unprocessed air in shirt-sleeve comfort, surrounded by crewmates who understand the risks you've shared and the discoveries you've made together. The decontamination is complete, the equipment is safe, and you've successfully returned from another day of walking on an alien world. The transition from explorer to habitat dweller is complete, but the memories remain: the crunch of regolith under alien gravity, the butterscotch sky that defies evolutionary expectations, the moment when you realised Mars was trying to kill you, and the greater moment when you realised you were going to survive. Tomorrow will bring new discoveries, new challenges, and new opportunities to push the boundaries of human exploration. But tonight, you're simply human again, clean and safe and alive at humanity's most distant outpost, carrying the alien dust of another world in your memory, and the knowledge that you've successfully completed another small step in the greatest journey our species has ever undertaken. 1545 to 1700 Mars Standard Time. The laboratory hums with quiet purpose as you approach the sample analysis station, your hands still slightly unsteady from the afternoon's brush with mortality. But the tremor isn't entirely from residual adrenaline, it's from anticipation. The rock sealed in triple barrier containment systems might contain the answer to humanity's oldest question: are we alone in the universe? The first sample emerges from its protective housing under sterile conditions that would satisfy the most paranoid biologist. Every surface has been decontaminated, every tool sterilised, every procedure designed to prevent cross-contamination between Mars material and Earth-based life. The chain of custody continues in the laboratory with documentation that will satisfy scientists for generations to come. Under the high-resolution microscope, the rock sample reveals its secrets in stunning detail. At 1,000 times magnification, the structures you glimpse through the field microscope during EVA become undeniably complex. Spherical formations arranged in organised patterns, each approximately 2.3 micrometers in diameter, exactly the size range associated with fossilised cyanobacteria on Earth. But size alone proves nothing. Mars has had billions of years to create mineral formations that mimic biological structures. You adjust the microscope's lighting system, switching from standard illumination to polarised light that reveals the internal structure of the formations. The spherical objects show concentric layering consistent with cell wall structures, organic boundaries that separate interior from exterior space. In Earth geology, such patterns almost invariably indicate biological origin. On Mars, they represent the kind of ambiguous evidence that has frustrated astrobiologists for decades. Chen peers over your shoulder, her breathing audible in the laboratory's quiet atmosphere. Morphology is consistent with microfossils, she observes, her scientific training warring with excitement. But we need chemical confirmation. Morphology alone has burned too many researchers. A scanning electron microscope comes online, its electron beam capable of revealing details far beyond optical magnification. At 10,000 times magnification, the structures become landscapes. tiny worlds of curves and textures that speak of organization complexity, the kind of geometric precision that evolution produces when life adapts to environmental constraints. But minerals can also self-organize under the right conditions, creating patterns that fool even experienced eyes. The sample goes into the X-ray photoelectron spectrometer, an instrument that analyzes chemical bonds by exciting atoms with high-energy radiation and measuring the energy of ejected electrons. The technique can distinguish between organic carbon from biological sources and inorganic carbon from geological processes. The results will take 40 minutes to process, 40 minutes that feel like geological ages, while the machine analyzes atoms that might represent the first confirmed evidence of extraterrestrial life. While the spectrometer works, you prepare additional samples for complementary analysis. The Raman spectroscopy system fires laser light into the rock, analyzing molecular vibrations that reveal chemical fingerprints. Organic compounds produced by life have characteristic spectral signatures that differ subtly but detectably from similar molecules created by non-biological processes. The gas chromatograph mass spectrometer begins its own analysis, breaking down organic compounds extracted from the rock samples into component molecules that can be identified with a library precision. The process is automated but nerve-wracking. Somewhere in the complex chemistry of ancient Martian stone, the instruments are searching for the molecular signatures of life itself. Marcus joins the analysis session, bringing expertise in geochemistry that complements your background in astrobiology. His presence represents the collaborative nature of Mars exploration. No single person possesses all the knowledge necessary to interpret discoveries that might reshape human understanding of life in the universe. Every conclusion will be reviewed, every interpretation challenged, every claim subjected to the rigorous skepticism that good science demands. The preliminary results from the Raman spectrometer appear on your display, and your pulse quickens despite years of training in scientific objectivity. Carbon-hydrogen bonds in configurations consistent with biological origin, sulfur compounds that suggest metabolic processes, nitrogen-containing molecules that could represent amino acid precursors. Each piece of evidence alone might have alternative explanations, but the combination builds a compelling case. Look at this! Marcus points to spectral peaks that indicate organic sulfur compounds. These signatures are typically associated with bacterial sulfate reduction, metabolic processes that convert sulfate minerals into hydrogen sulfide. It's one of the most ancient forms of life on Earth, exactly what you'd expect to find in early Martian environments. But expectation and confirmation occupy different universes in science. The history of astrobiology is littered with discoveries that seemed revolutionary, until more careful analysis revealed mundane explanations. The Allen Hills meteorite that appeared to contain Martian microfossils, the methane plumes in Mars's atmosphere that could indicate active biology, the phosphine signals in Venus's atmosphere that suggested aerial microbes. Each discovery generated tremendous excitement before more prosaic explanations emerged. The X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy results arrive with the mechanical precision of instruments that don't understand the significance of their measurements. Carbon-1s binding energy, 284.6 electron volts, consistent with C-C bonds in organic molecules. Nitrogen-1s binding energy, 399.8 electron volts, suggesting CN bonds characteristic of amino compounds. Sulfur 2p binding energy, 163.2 electron volts, indicating organic sulfur compounds rather than mineral sulfates. Your hands shake as you review the data, not from equipment malfunction, but from the profound implications of what you're seeing. The chemical evidence supports biological interpretation of the morphological structures. Multiple independent analysis techniques are converging on the same conclusion. The rocks you collected contain organic compounds arranged in patterns consistent with fossilized microbial life. Chen runs control analyses on adjacent rock samples that showed no organized structures during field examination. The results confirm what good scientific practice demands. The interest in chemistry is localized to the areas where morphological evidence suggested biological activity. The control samples contain typical Martian mineralogy, iron oxides, sulfate salts, basaltic compositions, but no organic carbon, no organized structures, no chemical signatures of life. The laboratory's environmental systems work quietly to maintain sterile conditions while you conduct analysis that might change human civilization. HEPA, filtration removes particles larger than 0.3 micrometers. UV sterilization prevents contamination between samples. Temperature and humidity controls ensure that instruments operate within optimal parameters. Every variable is controlled except the most important one: whether the evidence you're analyzing represents life or merely lifelike chemistry. The gas chromatography results provide the final piece of the analytical puzzle. Organic compounds extracted from the samples include straight-chain hydrocarbons, branched alkanes, and aromatic molecules, exactly the kind of complex chemistry produced by biological degradation processes. The molecular ratios suggest biological rather than geological origin, though the distinction requires statistical analysis that pushes the limits of current scientific understanding. You document everything with obsessive attention to detail, knowing that these measurements will be scrutinized by the global scientific community with intensity reserved for claims that challenge fundamental assumptions about life in the universe. Every spectrum gets photographed, every peak ball measured, every analysis protocol documented with precision that would satisfy the most demanding peer reviewers. The implications gradually sink in as evidence accumulates from multiple independent sources. Morphological structures consistent with fossilized microbes, chemical signatures indicating biological processes, organic compounds suggesting metabolic activity, control samples confirming that the interesting chemistry is localized rather than widespread. The convergence of evidence from different analytical techniques builds a case that becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss. But scientific discovery operates by different rules than popular excitement. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and the claim that life once existed on Mars represents perhaps the most extraordinary assertion in the history of science. The evidence you've gathered is compelling but not yet conclusive. Independent confirmation will be required, preferably by multiple laboratories using different techniques on different samples. The communication delay with Earth adds temporal isolation to your scientific excitement. The data you're analysing represents potentially the most important discovery in human history, but Earth won't know for 12 minutes, won't be able to provide guidance for 24 minutes total. You and your crewmates are alone with the possibility that you've found proof of extraterrestrial life, the first humans to see evidence that life has existed beyond Earth. Chen begins preparing preliminary reports that will be transmitted to Earth during the next communication window. The documentation must be complete, objective, and carefully worded to convey both the significance of the findings and the limitations of current analysis. The scientific community will demand raw data, analytical protocols, and detailed methodology before accepting conclusions that would revolutionize human understanding of life in the universe. The afternoon's analysis has yielded more questions than answers, as good science often does. The evidence suggests biological origin for the structures you've found, but alternative explanations cannot be completely eliminated. Proving that life once existed on Mars will require additional samples, independent confirmation, and the kind of rigorous peer review that only comes when results are subjected to global scientific scrutiny. But standing here, in humanity's most remote laboratory, analysing rocks that might contain fossilised evidence of extraterrestrial life, you feel the profound weight of discovery. Regardless of what final analysis reveals, you are conducting science at the absolute frontier of human knowledge, using the most sophisticated techniques available to investigate the most fundamental questions about life's place in the universe. The chronometer reads 1700 hours, time for crew dinner, for sharing the day's potential discovery with colleagues who understand both its significance and its limitations. Whether or not you've found evidence of Martian life, you've certainly found evidence of Mars's capacity to challenge human assumptions and reward scientific investigation. The search for life continues, one analysis at a time, in the patient tradition of science advancing through careful observation, rigorous testing, and the willingness to follow evidence wherever it leads, even if it leads to the revolutionary conclusion that Earth is not unique, that life has emerged elsewhere in the universe, that we are not alone. 1700 to 1830 Mars Standard Time. The galley transforms at dinner time from a functional food preparation area into something approaching sacred space. The one place where 4 humans gather not as mission specialists or system operators, but simply as people sharing a meal at the edge of everything known. Tonight, the conversation carries additional weight. You might have discovered life on another planet today, but first you need to be human with the only other humans within 140 million miles. Marcus has prepared tonight's meal with the same attention to detail he applies to atmospheric systems maintenance. The main course is pizza, a creative interpretation that uses hydroponically grown tomatoes, lab-cultured cheese protein, and bread made from stored wheat flour. It bears only a passing resemblance to Earth pizza, but the familiar flavours carry emotional weight far beyond their nutritional value. Each bite connects you to a world where pizza delivery exists, where ingredients grow under blue skies, where meals don't require careful calculation of caloric content and vitamin supplementation. The hydroponic tomatoes tell their own story of human adaptation. Grown under LED lights that simulate solar spectra, nurtured in nutrient solutions mixed from precisely measured chemicals, these tomatoes have never felt rain or natural sunlight. Yet they taste remarkably close to their earth-grown cousins, evidence of life's fundamental adaptability and human ingenuity in recreating the conditions that support familiar foods in the most unfamiliar environments. Yuki contributes salad greens from her carefully tended garden modules, lettuce, spinach, and herbs that add colour and freshness to meals that could easily become monotonous over the course of a multi-year mission. The psychological benefits of fresh food extend far beyond nutrition. They represent continuity with Earth life, the simple pleasure of eating something that grew rather than something manufactured in a food processing facility. Chen raises her water bulb in a toast that acknowledges both today's potential discovery and narrow escape from disaster. To Sol 847, she says, which tried to kill us and might have rewarded us with the discovery of a lifetime. The water is recycled, processed through filters and purification systems, but it serves the same ceremonial function as champagne in Earth celebrations, a shared moment of acknowledgement that significant events deserve recognition. The conversation begins with technical debriefing, as it always does. The crew reviews the day's systems performance, discusses lessons learned from the power emergency, analyses the effectiveness of the emergency protocols under actual crisis conditions, but gradually, inevitably, the discussion turns to the potential biological samples now secured in the laboratory's containment systems. The morphological evidence is compelling, you report, choosing words carefully. Spherical structures, organised distribution, size, consistent with fossilised microbial communities. Chemical analysis supports biological interpretation, but we're still within the realm of suggestive rather than conclusive evidence. Marcus nods, his geochemistry background making him naturally cautious about biological interpretations of geological phenomena. Mars has fooled us before with mineral formations that look biological. The key question is whether we can eliminate non-biological explanations for what we're seeing. The philosophical implications hover over the dinner conversation like an invisible guest. If the samples contain fossilised evidence of ancient Martian life, the discovery would fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Life would no longer be unique to Earth, no longer a singular cosmic accident. The universe would become a place where life emerges wherever conditions allow, where biological processes represent a fundamental aspect of planetary evolution. Yuki, whose background in astrobiology makes her the crew's expert on life detection protocols, raises the critical question that every Mars explorer has faced. Even if we confirm biological origin, what does it tell us about life elsewhere? Are we looking at an independent genesis of life? Or could these organisms be related to Earth life through panspermia, meteorite exchange between planets? The panspermia hypothesis suggests that life might travel between planets aboard meteorites blasted from planetary surfaces by asteroid impacts. Mars and Earth have exchanged material throughout their histories, and microorganisms capable of surviving in space might have seeded both planets with related biology. Finding life on Mars might not prove independent genesis. It might simply confirm that life can survive interplanetary travel. But even that discovery would represent a revolution in human understanding. Life capable of surviving the vacuum of space, the radiation environment of interplanetary transit, the shock of meteorite impact. Such organisms would suggest that biology is far more resilient and adaptable than current theories predict. The implications for life's distribution throughout the galaxy would be profound. The dinner conversation drifts toward more personal reflections, as the technical analysis gives way to human processing of the day's events. Each crew member carries the psychological weight of potentially being present for humanity's first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial life. Even if that life existed billions of years ago, and left only fossilized traces in ancient stone. My daughter will be 8 by the time we return to Earth, you muse, thinking about the temporal displacement that separates you from everyone you love. If these samples contain life, she'll grow up in a universe where Earth isn't unique. Her generation will take it for granted that life exists elsewhere, while we're the last generation to experience the possibility that we might be alone. Chen shares her own temporal vertigo. My parents were born when human space exploration meant brief trips to low Earth orbit. Now their daughter is potentially discovering life on another planet. The rate of change is accelerating beyond anything previous generations experienced. The cultural and religious implications remain largely unspoken, but they permeate the conversation like atmospheric pressure, always present, always influencing every breath of discussion. If life arose independently on Mars, the discovery would challenge every human creation myth, every religious tradition that places Earth and humanity at the centre of divine attention. The philosophical adjustment would be as significant as the scientific one. Marcus brings practical perspective to the metaphysical speculation. Whether or not we found life, we've definitely found evidence that Mars was once more hospitable than it is today. The rock formations, the chemical signatures, the environmental indicators all point to a world that could have supported biological processes. That knowledge alone justifies everything we've invested in coming here. The meal continues with conversation that ranges from technical details to philosophical implications, from personal reflections to speculation about humanity's future in space. The 4 of you represent the most isolated humans in history, but tonight you're connected by the shared experience that no other living people can fully understand. You've walked on another planet together, faced mortality together, and possibly discovered evidence of extraterrestrial life together. Yuki serves dessert, chocolate pudding made from cocoa powder and synthetic dairy proteins, sweetened with glucose, derived from recycled organic waste. It tastes like childhood comfort food, despite being manufactured in a sterile laboratory from precisely measured chemical components. The psychological power of familiar flavours transcends their artificial origins, connecting you to memories of Earth meals shared with people whose faces you can barely remember after 2 years of isolation. The conversation turns to mission planning, discussing the implications of today's discoveries for future EVAs and sample collection priorities. If the laboratory analysis confirms biological origin for today's samples, the crew will need to expand the search area, collect additional specimens for independent analysis, and revise scientific protocols to account for the possibility of widespread fossilized remains. But beneath the technical planning lies emotional processing that's harder to quantify. Each crew member deals differently with the possibility that they've participated in humanity's most significant scientific discovery. The weight of that responsibility combines with the isolation of being 140 million miles from anyone who could share their excitement or provide emotional support beyond the 3 people sitting around this small table. The dust storm continues outside, reducing the Martian landscape to uniform grey-brown chaos that will persist for days. The habitat's walls protect you from the planetary tantrum, but the sound of wind-driven particles against reinforced windows provides constant reminder that you're visitors in a hostile environment. Tonight's meal represents a small victory of human civilization over cosmic indifference, the creation of warmth, companionship and familiar flavours in a place where such things have never existed. As dinner concludes, each crew member returns to individual responsibilities and personal time. But the shared experience of today's discoveries and near disasters has strengthened the bonds that make survival possible in humanity's most remote outpost. You trust these people with your life not just because of professional competence, but because of moments like this. Shared meals that transform colleagues into family, conversations that process both technical data and human emotions, the simple act of breaking bread together while surrounded by an alien world. The chronometer reads 1830, time for personal activities, private communications with Earth, and the quiet reflection that comes at the end of days that might have changed human history. Tonight you'll sleep knowing that sealed in the laboratory are rock samples that could represent the most important scientific specimens ever collected, evidence that might answer humanity's oldest question about its place in the universe. But first, there's the simple human pleasure of cleaning up after a meal shared with friends, of continuing the domestic routines that make life livable even at the edge of everything known. The dishes need washing, the galley requires cleaning, And normal life continues even when normal life includes the possibility of having discovered extraterrestrial life during the afternoon's work. 1830 to 20. Solitude on Mars carries different weight than solitude on Earth. Here, alone in your small personal quarters, you're not just separated from other people, you're separated from your entire species, except for 3 companions who share your technological exile. The silence that surrounds you has never been broken by human voices until humans brought those voices here. Carried across the void in spacecraft built with the accumulated knowledge of 10,000 generations. Your personal space measures 3 meters by 2.5 meters by 2 meters high, smaller than a prison cell, but infinitely more precious because it represents the only private territory any human has ever possessed on another planet. The walls display photos from home, Emma and Sarah on the beach last summer, your parents in their garden, friends gathered around a table that seems impossibly large compared to the galley where you just shared dinner. The images represent a world where breathable atmosphere comes free, where water falls from the sky, where no one calculates the energy cost of staying warm. The communication console chimes softly, indicating the evening transmission window with the Earth has opened. Your heart performs its familiar acceleration as you prepare for the 12-minute delay that makes every conversation feel like correspondence with the dead. You activate the video link, and Emma's face appears on the screen, older than when you left, changed by 2 years of single parenthood and the slow accumulation of experiences you can't share. "Good morning from yesterday," she says, and her smile carries the practiced brightness of someone performing normalcy across an impossible distance. Sarah's at school, but she recorded a message for you. She's been working on a science project about Mars. Apparently having a parent there makes her the class expert on planetary geology. The video shifts to your daughter's room, decorated with drawings of rockets and planets that bear only passing resemblance to the actual landscape outside your window. Sarah appears, gap-toothed and serious, holding a poster board covered with magazine cutouts and crayon illustrations. "Hi, Daddy. I made a report about Mars for school. Did you know that Mars has the biggest volcano in the solar system? It's called Olympus Mons, and it's 3 times bigger than Mount Everest. My teacher says you might see it from your house. Can you take a picture for me?" Your throat tightens as you realise she doesn't understand the scale of planetary distances, doesn't grasp that Olympus Mons lies thousands of kilometres from your landing site. To her, Mars is small enough that her father might walk to the giant volcano and take tourist photos. The innocence of that assumption carries more emotional weight than any technical briefing about interplanetary exploration. Emma returns to the screen, her expression showing the careful control of someone managing her own emotional reactions while trying to provide stability for a child. "The mission timeline came through official channels," she says, her voice steady despite the implication. "Launch window confirmation for your return trip, still 18 months away, assuming everything goes according to plan. 18 months. 547 more souls of recycled air, hydroponically grown vegetables, and the constant mechanical whisper of life support systems. 547 more sunrises through a butterscotch sky. 547 more nights falling asleep under alien stars. Your daughter will be almost 10 when you return, changed in ways you can only imagine, while she changes without you. You record your response with careful attention to tone and content, knowing these words will travel 140 million miles to reach the people you love most. You tell them about today's discoveries without mentioning the technical details that might indicate you've found evidence of extraterrestrial life. That announcement will come through official channels after peer review and confirmation. Instead, you share the human details, the way Martian sunlight feels different on your spacesuit, the satisfaction of successful scientific work, the constant awareness of living somewhere no human was meant to survive. The personal video message concludes with the same ritual that ends every transmission. "I love you both more than the distance between us. Take care of each other until I come home." The words feel inadequate to bridge 140 million miles of vacuum, but they're all you have to maintain connection with the life you left behind to come here. Your hydroponic garden demands attention, with the same biological persistence that made these plants' ancestors successful on Earth. These small growing chamber houses tomatoes, lettuce, herbs and strawberries, a miniature ecosystem that transforms carbon dioxide and recycled water into fresh food and psychological comfort. The plants don't know they're growing on Mars. They respond to LED spectra, nutrient solutions, and temperature controls exactly as they would in an Earth greenhouse. Tending the garden provides meditation disguised as maintenance. You check nutrient levels, adjust pH balance, prune excessive growth, and harvest vegetables that will supplement tomorrow's meals with fresh flavours and vitamins. The work connects you to 10,000 years of human agriculture, but with the precision that space exploration demands. Every leaf matters when you're 140 million miles from the nearest replacement seed. The strawberry plants show their first flowers, tiny white blossoms that promise fruit in weeks to come. The sight of flowers blooming under artificial light in a pressurized container on Mars strikes you as profoundly hopeful. Life's determination to continue, to reproduce, to create beauty, even in circumstances that evolution never anticipated. These plants represent Earth's biological heritage extending to another planet. Life forms that will produce fruit under alien skies because humans brought them here. Your personal journal waits with the infinite patience that only blank pages possess. The writing has become ritual, a daily download of experiences that no earthbound human can fully understand. Tonight's entry carries special weight. How do you document a day that might have changed human civilization? How do you record the emotional impact of potentially discovering evidence of extraterrestrial life while also nearly dying when your equipment failed? The words come slowly, carefully chosen to capture both technical accuracy and emotional truth. You describe the morning's routine preparation, the systematic scientific investigation, the moment when organized structures appeared under the microscope's magnification. But you also record the human details, the taste of fear when battery power began failing, the relief of reaching safety, the strange privilege of being one of the first people to potentially see evidence of life beyond Earth. The journal also captures the accumulating psychological weight of isolation. 2 years of separation from everyone you love has created a kind of temporal displacement. You exist in their past, always 12 minutes behind their present, experiencing their lives as archaeological artifacts transmitted across interplanetary distances. Your daughter's tooth fell out 3 days ago, but you're just learning about it now. By the time you respond, she'll have moved on to other childhood milestones you can only observe after they've become history. The personal items scattered around your quarters tell the story of human adaptation to impossible circumstances. Photos that connect you to faces you might not recognize after 2 years of separation. Books loaded onto electronic readers, carrying the accumulated wisdom of human civilization in devices that weigh less than a single paperback. Music collected from decades of Earth experience, songs that trigger memories of places and people that exist only in the past tense of your current reality. You select tonight's soundtrack from a playlist labelled Mars Contemplation, instrumental music that complements the alien landscape outside your window without overwhelming the quiet that has become precious after days filled with technical communication and system alerts. The music creates atmosphere in a place where atmosphere exists only because humans brought it here, carried across the void in pressure vessels designed to maintain the conditions life requires. The small window beside your sleeping area frames a view of the Martian night that few human eyes have ever seen. The dust storm has cleared enough to reveal stars unmarked by atmospheric interference, constellations made strange by viewing them from a different planet's perspective. Earth appears as a pale blue point of light, indistinguishable from any other star except for the knowledge that it carries everyone you've ever known. The sight of Earth from Mars creates perspective that no amount of theoretical knowledge can provide. All of human history, every war and peace treaty, every artistic achievement and scientific discovery, every love story and personal tragedy, all of it contained in that blue point of light barely visible against the cosmic background. The fragility of human civilization becomes apparent when seen from the perspective of another planet, a single point of life and consciousness in an otherwise empty universe. Your sleeping area contains the same life support connections as a hospital room, monitoring your vital signs while you rest and providing emergency oxygen if atmospheric systems fail during the night. The intimacy of being constantly monitored by machines creates a strange relationship with technology. These systems know your heartbeat, your breathing patterns, your sleep cycles better than any human ever has. They respond to your needs with mechanical devotion, while you remain utterly dependent on their continued function. The personal time draws toward its close as your body prepares for sleep under gravity that still feels wrong after 2 years. Your muscles and bones have adapted to Martian conditions, but your deep psychology still expects Earth's pull. Sleep here requires conscious relaxation of reflexes that expect different physics, different atmospheric pressure, different sounds and smells, and the subtle sensory inputs that define home. Tonight's dreams will likely mix the day's discoveries with memories of Earth, creating the kind of surreal narratives that isolation produces. You might dream of fossilized microbes that speak with your daughter's voice, or of equipment failures that threaten not just your survival, but your to return to people who exist only in delayed video transmissions. The unconscious mind processes extraordinary experiences through familiar symbols, translating the unprecedented into dream logic that connects alien discoveries to human emotions. The chronometer reads 2000 hours, time to prepare for sleep, to set systems for automatic night monitoring, to trust your life to machines, while consciousness retreats into dreams that bridge the gap between Mars and memory. Tomorrow will bring new discoveries, new challenges, and new opportunities to push the boundaries of human knowledge. But tonight, you'll fall asleep as the loneliest human in the solar system, surrounded by evidence of life's ability to adapt to impossible circumstances, while carrying the weight of potentially being the first person to confirm that life has existed beyond Earth. Personal time on Mars means processing experiences that have no precedent in human history, while maintaining psychological connection to a species and planet that exist only in memory and delayed communication. It means tending plants that have never felt natural sunlight while writing in journals that document the most extraordinary journey humans have ever undertaken. It means falling asleep under alien stars while dreaming of faces you might not remember clearly when you finally return home. 20 to 22 Mars Standard Time. The control room at night feels like the bridge of a spacecraft navigating between worlds, which in many ways it is. Tonight is your turn for the watch. 2 hours of solitary vigilance while your crewmates trust their lives to your attention. The responsibility settles across your shoulders like a familiar weight as you take over from Yuki, inheriting the sacred duty of keeping 4 humans alive through another Martian night. The habitat transforms in the darkness, its daytime efficiency giving way to night watch intimacy. Systems that operate automatically during crew hours now demand human monitoring, their status displays painting the control room in shades of green and amber that speak of technological vigilance. You are the human element in a complex equation of survival, the conscious mind that guides mechanical systems through the hours when Mars becomes even more hostile than usual. Through the reinforced windows, the Martian night reveals wonders that Earth dwellers never see. The dust storm has finally cleared, leaving atmosphere so thin and clear that stars appear with knife-edge precision against the black sky. No light pollution mars the view, no cities, no highways, no evidence of civilization except for the small bubble of artificial light that surrounds you. The Milky Way spreads overhead like a river of light, unmarked by atmospheric interference, showing structure and detail that astronomers pay thousands of dollars to glimpse from Earth's dark sky sites. Phobos races overhead in its impossibly fast orbit, crossing the sky from horizon to horizon in just 4.5 hours. The potato-shaped moon reflects sunlight with dull efficiency, too small and irregular to create the romantic luminescence of Earth's lunar. Instead, it serves as a constant reminder that you're orbiting a different star, watching alien moons follow gravitational laws that produce unfamiliar celestial mechanics. Your first responsibility is the atmospheric monitoring system, the electronic nervous system that tastes the air you breathe and reports its findings in numerical abstractions. Oxygen concentration, 20.9%, optimal for human metabolism. Carbon dioxide levels, 0.02%, well within safe parameters. Nitrogen, 78.1%, providing the inert ballast that prevents oxygen toxicity. Trace gases, argon, water vapor, and the faint chemical signatures of human habitation, exhalation products, equipment off-gassing, the subtle markers of life maintaining itself in a sterile environment. The life support systems run their midnight ballet with mechanical precision, but they require human oversight to catch the subtle anomalies that could cascade into life-threatening emergencies. You scan pressure readings, flow rates, filtration efficiency, and power consumption patterns that tell the story of 4 humans sleeping while machines work tirelessly to keep them alive. Every number represents a small victory over the forces of entropy that want to fill this space with vacuum and cold. The nuclear reactor hums its constant song in the depths of the habitat, converting uranium fuel pellets into the electricity that powers everything from life support to communication systems. The power output remains steady at 47.3 kilowatts, but you monitor the trend lines that show gradual efficiency degradation over time. Nuclear systems are designed for decades of operation, but Mars has ways of accelerating wear that Earth-based testing never fully anticipated. Communication with Earth fills the night hours with one-way conversation, your voice carrying across 140 million miles to reach controllers who are experiencing their own daytime while you navigate the alien darkness. The 12-minute delay makes real-time consultation impossible, but the routine of reporting system status and receiving procedural updates maintains the psychological lifeline that connects you to human civilization. Mars Base, this is Houston Flight Control, arrives the delayed voice of Mission Control, carrying news from a world where morning coffee accompanies the routine of monitoring spacecraft that have travelled beyond Earth's protective embrace. Weather systems showing improvement in your region. Solar panel cleaning operations approved for Sol, 848 if conditions remain stable. You acknowledge the transmission and update the crew duty roster, knowing that tomorrow will bring EVA operations to restore power generation efficiency, degraded by accumulated dust. The routine decisions that govern daily life on Mars arrive through radio waves that have crawled across the solar system, carrying human bureaucracy to the edge of explored space. The environmental controls work overtime during the Martian night, when external temperatures drop to minus 80 degrees Celsius, and the habitat's thermal systems fight constant battle against heat loss. The heating elements cycle on and off with precise timing, maintaining comfortable internal temperature while conserving power for the long night ahead. Thermal imaging displays show the habitat as a bright spot of warmth against the frigid Martian landscape, a technological campfire that pushes back against planetary-scale cold. Through the observation windows, Earth appears as a pale blue point of light barely visible against the starfield. The sight never loses its emotional impact. That tiny dot of light contains everyone you've ever known, every human who ever lived except for your 3 sleeping companions. The distance is not just spatial, but temporal. Earth exists in a present you can only observe after it becomes past. Every moment of connection delayed by the time light requires to cross interplanetary distances. You update the scientific logs with data from today's potential discovery, transmitting spectroscopic results and morphological analysis to Earth-based researchers who will spend months verifying what you observed in hours. The samples that might contain evidence of ancient Martian life rest in secure containment, while sleeping scientists dream of discoveries that could reshape human understanding of life's place in the universe. The habitat's structural monitoring systems report the constant stress of maintaining pressurized volume against Martian vacuum. Pressure differentials, thermal expansion cycles, micrometeorite impacts, all of these forces work constantly to compromise the barrier between habitable interior and lethal exterior. The habitat responds with engineered resilience, but vigilance never sleeps when structural failure means death for everyone inside. Automated systems handle most routine operations, but Night Watch provides human judgment for the decisions that exceed programmed parameters. When the water recycling system reports slightly elevated bacteria counts, you evaluate whether immediate action is required, or whether morning shift can address the issue during regular maintenance hours. When atmospheric pressure shows minor fluctuations, you determine whether the variations fall within acceptable limits or indicate developing problems that require crew awakening. The psychological weight of Night Watch extends beyond technical monitoring to existential guardianship. You are the conscious mind overseeing humanity's most remote outpost, the waking intelligence that stands between your crewmates and the myriad ways Mars could kill them while they sleep. The responsibility connects you to thousands of years of human sentinel duty, but with stakes and isolation that no previous Guardian ever faced. The dust storm that threatened your afternoon EVA has moved eastward, its massive front now visible on satellite imagery as a continent-sized weather system that will affect regions thousands of kilometers away. Mars experiences weather on scales that dwarf terrestrial storms, planetary dust devils that can last for months and change atmospheric conditions across entire hemispheres. Tonight's clear skies represent temporary victory over forces that could return without warning. Mars's 2 moons follow their complex orbital dance across the starfield, Phobos racing overhead while distant Deimos crawls through its lengthy circuit. The moonlight, if it can be called that, provides minimal illumination, but enough to reveal the landscape features that surround your habitat. Ancient craters, wind-carved rock formations, and the geometric precision of previous human visits all blend into a monochrome tableau that speaks of geological time and recent technological intrusion. The scientific instruments continue their automated observations through the night, collecting data about atmospheric conditions, seismic activity, and radiation levels that will inform decisions about future exploration. Mars never sleeps, and neither do the instruments that study it, accumulating knowledge about planetary processes that operated for billions of years before humans arrived to interpret their significance. Your personal communication console shows the familiar icon indicating messages from Earth have arrived during the evening transmission window. Family updates, mission directives, scientific discussions, all waiting for morning review when you'll have time to process personal news alongside technical briefings. The delay between question and answer means every conversation becomes correspondence, each exchange separated by the time required for information to crawl across the void at light speed. The night shift log requires detailed documentation of every system check, every anomaly observed, every decision made during the hours when human consciousness stands watch over sleeping companions. Future night shifts will review your notes, looking for patterns and precedents that could inform their own decision-making. Knowledge accumulates shift by shift, creating institutional memory for humanity's first permanent settlement on another planet. As the night progresses toward its conclusion, you perform the final systems checks that will determine whether your crewmates wake to a fully functional habitat or to emergency conditions requiring immediate action. Power systems, optimal. Life support, functioning within parameters. Communication, maintaining contact with the Martian Earth. Environmental controls, managing thermal loads effectively. Structure, maintaining integrity against pressure differentials. The chronometer reads 2200, marking the end of your watch and the beginning of transition to Chen's night shift. In a few minutes, you'll brief her on system status, transfer responsibility for keeping everyone alive, and retreat to your quarters for sleep under alien stars. But for these final moments, you remain the guardian of humanity's most distant outpost, the conscious mind that has successfully guided 4 humans through another night on Mars. Outside, the Martian landscape continues its billion-year patience, waiting for the sun to rise on another soul of human exploration. Inside, life support systems prepare for another day of keeping Earth creatures alive, in a place where life was never meant to exist. The night watch ends as it began, with human consciousness standing guard over the technology that makes survival possible at the edge of everything known, 2200 to 2300 Mars Standard Time. The laboratory computer completes its overnight analysis with mechanical indifference to the magnitude of its findings. Automated systems have spent the night processing samples that might contain the first confirmed evidence of extraterrestrial life, crunching through spectroscopic data and chemical analysis with the same computational dedication they would apply to analysing common rock. The results appear on your display at 22:47 Mars Standard Time, delivered without fanfare by algorithms that don't understand they might be changing human history. Your hands shake as you review the final results, not from equipment malfunction, but from the profound implications of what the numbers reveal. The isotopic analysis shows carbon signatures that strongly suggest biological origin. Carbon-12 to carbon-13 ratios that match the preferential selection patterns of metabolic processes. Nitrogen isotope distributions consistent with biological nitrogen fixation. Sulfur compounds that indicate bacterial sulfate reduction, one of the most ancient forms of life on Earth, exactly what you would expect to find in early Martian environments. The automated systems have processed multiple samples through multiple analytical techniques, and the results converge on a conclusion that makes your pulse race despite years of scientific training. Morphological evidence, confirmed, chemical signatures, biological, isotopic ratios, consistent with metabolic processes, organic compounds, present in patterns suggesting life-derived chemistry. Control samples, negative for all biological indicators, confirming that the interesting results are localized to specific geological formations. You activate the communication system and send a priority message to Earth, knowing that your words will travel 140 million miles to reach scientists who have spent their careers searching for exactly this kind of evidence. The message is carefully worded, scientifically conservative, but unmistakably historic. Sample analysis complete. Multiple independent techniques suggest biological origin for organized structures. Request immediate peer review protocol activation. The implications gradually sink in as you review the data again, searching for alternative explanations that could account for the convergence of evidence from different analytical approaches. But the results resist non-biological interpretation. The isotopic signatures are particularly compelling. Life preferentially selects lighter isotopes during metabolic process, creating characteristic ratios that are difficult to produce through purely geological mechanisms. Chen appears in the laboratory doorway, drawn by the urgent tone of your Earth transmission. "The final results are in?" she asks, though your expression already provides the answer. You nod toward the display showing spectroscopic peaks that tell the story of ancient biochemistry preserved in Martian stone. "Look at this," you say, highlighting the carbon isotope data. Delta carbon, 13 values of negative 28 parts per thousand. That's smack in the middle of the range for biological carbon fixation. Geological processes might produce one or two of these signatures, but not the entire suite of biomarkers we're seeing. The scientific protocols for potential life detection are elaborate, designed to prevent false alarms that could mislead the global research community and damage careers built on rigorous methodology. But the protocols also recognise that extraordinary discoveries require extraordinary documentation, and the evidence accumulating from your analysis meets every criterion for biological origin established by decades of astrobiology research. Chen reviews the morphological data on the high-resolution displays, examining the spherical structures that first caught your attention during afternoon analysis. At maximum magnification, the formations show internal organisation that becomes increasingly difficult to explain through purely mineral processes. Cell wall remnants, possible organelle distributions, the kind of complex internal architecture that biology creates when life adapts to environmental constraints. The size distribution is particularly convincing, Chen observes, pointing to histograms that show the structures cluster around specific diameters. Mineral formations typically show broad size ranges, but biological systems create organisms within narrow parameters determined by optimal surface-to-volume ratios and metabolic efficiency. The gas chromatography results provide additional support for biological interpretation. Organic compounds extracted from the samples include long-chain hydrocarbons, branched alkanes, and aromatic molecules that together suggest the degradation products of biological membranes and structural proteins. The molecular complexity exceeds what geological processes typically produce, representing the kind of chemistry that emerges when life creates sophisticated organic architectures. But scientific discovery operates according to protocols that prioritize caution over excitement, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence subjected to extraordinary scrutiny. The results you're seeing are compelling but not yet conclusive. Independent confirmation will be required from multiple laboratories using different analytical techniques on different sample portions. The peer review process will demand raw data, detailed methodology, and rigorous elimination of alternative hypotheses. The communication delay with Earth adds temporal isolation to your scientific excitement. The data you're analysing represents potentially the most important discovery in human history, but Earth won't know for 12 minutes. Won't be able to provide guidance for 24 minutes total. You and Chen are alone with the knowledge that you might have confirmed the existence of life beyond Earth, the first humans to see proof that biology has emerged elsewhere in the universe. You begin preparing the comprehensive data package that will accompany your preliminary announcement to Earth. Every spectrum must be included, every analytical protocol documented, every control sample result presented alongside the positive findings. The package will consume several hours of communication bandwidth, transmitting across interplanetary distances the digital evidence of potentially the greatest scientific discovery in human history. The laboratory's containment systems maintain sterile conditions around the samples that might represent ancient Martian life. Triple barrier isolation prevents contamination in either direction. The samples cannot contaminate Earth-based life, and Earth-based life cannot contaminate the samples. The protocols assume that if life once existed on Mars, it might still exist in forms too subtle for current detection methods. Chen activates the high-resolution scanning system to create three-dimensional models of the most compelling structures, generating visualizations that will allow Earth-based scientists to examine the morphological evidence in detail. The resulting images reveal internal architecture that becomes increasingly difficult to explain through non-biological processes. Organized complexity that suggests the kind of cellular organization that life creates to manage biochemical processes efficiently. The weight of discovery settles into your consciousness as evidence accumulates from multiple independent sources. You are potentially the first human beings to confirm that life has existed beyond Earth, to prove that biology is not unique to your home planet, to answer humanity's oldest question about whether we are alone in the universe. The responsibility is profound. These results will be scrutinized by every expert in astrobiology, subjected to peer review that could make or destroy scientific careers. The automated analysis continues to process additional samples, comparing results across different rock layers and geological contexts. The biological signatures appear to be localized to specific formations that represent ancient aquatic environments, exactly the kind of settings where microbial life might have flourished during Mars's warmer, wetter past. The spatial distribution supports the hypothesis that you found evidence of ancient Martian ecosystems. Marcus joins the late-night analysis session, bringing expertise in geochemistry that provides additional perspective on the results. His examination of the data focuses on eliminating geological explanations for the observed signatures, systematically ruling out alternative hypotheses that could account for the evidence without invoking biological processes. The sulfur isotope ratios are particularly compelling, Marcus notes, examining data that shows preferential selection patterns characteristic of bacterial metabolism. These signatures are produced when microorganisms use sulfate minerals as energy sources, exactly the kind of chemistry you'd expect in early Martian environments when the planet had liquid water and reducing atmospheric conditions. The three of you represent humanity's first contact team with potential extraterrestrial life, even if that life existed billions of years ago and left only fossilized traces in ancient stone. The moment carries historical weight that exceeds any previous scientific discovery. This is potentially the confirmation that life emerges wherever conditions allow, that Earth is not unique, that the universe contains biology as a fundamental feature rather than a cosmic accident. Yuki appears in the laboratory as news of the results spreads through the habitat's small community. The entire crew now gathers around displays showing evidence that could transform human understanding of life's place in the universe. 4 people 140 million miles from home, potentially witnessing confirmation that we are not alone. The implications are staggering, Yuki observes, her background in astrobiology providing context for the discovery's significance. If life arose independently on Mars, it suggests that biology is a common outcome of planetary evolution. Wherever conditions permit organic chemistry and liquid water, the universe could be full of life. But even as excitement builds around the potential discovery, scientific caution demands acknowledgement of the evidence's limitations. The structures you found are ancient, fossilized, possibly degraded by billions of years of exposure to radiation and chemical weathering. Proving biological origin beyond reasonable doubt will require multiple independent confirmations using techniques not available in your field laboratory. The communication window with Earth opens for extended data transmission, and you begin uploading the comprehensive analysis package that will fuel months of peer review and scientific debate. The digital stream carrying evidence of potential extraterrestrial life crawls across the solar system at light speed, carrying information that could answer humanity's oldest questions about its place in the cosmos. The chronometer reads 2300 as the initial data transmission completes. Whether or not final analysis confirms biological origin for the structures you found, you have conducted the most thorough search for life ever attempted on another planet. The results will reshape astrobiology research for generations, providing either proof that life exists beyond Earth or the most compelling false alarm in the history of life detection. Tomorrow will bring additional analysis, continued sample processing, and the beginning of what could become the most important scientific investigation in human history. But tonight, Sol 847 concludes with 4 humans on Mars potentially holding evidence that biology is not unique to Earth, that life emerges wherever planetary conditions create opportunities for organic chemistry to evolve towards self-replication and metabolism. The universe might not be empty after all. 2300 to 0000 Mars Standard Time. The end of Sol 847 finds you standing at the observation window, watching alien stars wheel overhead while processing a day that might have changed everything humanity thought it knew about life in the universe. The chronometer ticks toward the midnight, Mars Standard Time, marking not just the end of another soul, but potentially the end of an era when Earth was thought to be unique, when life was considered a cosmic accident rather than an inevitable outcome of planetary evolution. Your reflection in the reinforced glass overlays the Martian landscape like a double exposure. Human face superimposed on alien terrain, Earth consciousness contemplating evidence of life that may have emerged independently on another world. The juxtaposition seems fitting. You have become a hybrid creature, still human but fundamentally changed by exposure to truths that no previous generation could have imagined. The evening medical checks reveal the ongoing cost of Mars exploration, written in bone density reports and radiation exposure summaries. Your body pays the price for every day spent in reduced gravity and elevated radiation, trading cellular integrity for the privilege of walking on another planet. But tonight those biological accounts seem insignificant compared to the potential discovery contained in laboratory samples that might represent the most important scientific specimens ever collected. The life support systems hum their constant song around you, maintaining the bubble of Earth conditions that allows human life to persist in a place where life was never meant to exist. The recycled air tastes of metal and determination, carrying molecules that have travelled through your lungs and your crewmates' lungs, processed through filters and scrubbers that perform the work of an entire planet's biosphere. Each breath represents a victory over entropy, a successful negotiation with forces that would prefer this habitat filled with vacuum and dust. Setting systems for automatic night monitoring has become a ritual as familiar as any religious observance, a series of checks and confirmations that ensure 4 humans will wake to a functional habitat rather than a technological tomb. The computers that will stand watch through the Martian night don't understand the significance of the day's discoveries, don't recognise that they're guarding potentially the most important evidence in human history. They simply execute their programming with mechanical devotion, maintaining the conditions that allow consciousness to persist at the edge of everything known. Chen takes over the night shift from you, accepting responsibility for keeping everyone alive through the hours when Mars becomes even more hostile than usual. The transfer of duty carries additional weight tonight. She will be guardian not just of human lives, but of the samples that might contain evidence of ancient Martian biology. Her competence and attention to detail have been proven through hundreds of previous shifts, but tonight feels different, charged with historical significance that transforms routine procedures into acts of cosmic importance. "Sleep well," she says as you prepare to leave the control room, and the simple phrase carries layers of meaning that neither of you speak aloud. Sleep well, knowing that you might have discovered extraterrestrial life. Sleep well, despite the knowledge that you're 140 million miles from everyone you love. Sleep well, while automatic systems maintain the technological miracle that keeps you alive on a world that offers only death to unprotected human life. Your quarters feel different as you prepare for sleep, charged with the energy of potential discovery and the exhaustion that follows days when survival and science intersect in nearly fatal ways. The small space contains your entire private universe, photos from home, books that carry Earth's accumulated wisdom, personal items that maintain connection to a species and planet that exist only in memory and delayed communication. The routine of evening preparation takes on meditative quality as your body prepares for sleep under alien stars, changing into sleeping clothes that have been washed in recycled water, processed through systems that recover every molecule of moisture from human exhalation and perspiration, brushing teeth with paste that foams differently in the habitat's controlled atmosphere, spitting into collection ports that feed the reclamation systems that make survival possible in a world without natural water sources, the sleeping area's small window frames stars that have never been seen from Earth, constellations made strange by viewing them from a different planet's perspective. The Milky Way spreads overhead with clarity that Earth's atmosphere never permits, showing structure and detail that remind you of your position in a galaxy that might contain billions of planets, some of which might harbour life forms that have never known the touch of solar wind or the comfort of atmospheric protection. Phobos races overhead in its impossible orbit, completing a full circuit in less than 8 hours, a reminder that you're sleeping under the gravitational influence of a world that follows different rules than the one that gave you birth. The rapid moon creates a kind of cosmic strobe effect, alternately illuminating and shadowing the Martian landscape with light too dim to read by but bright enough to reveal the alien geometry of terrain sculpted by forces that predate human civilization by billions of years. The psychological preparation for sleep requires conscious relaxation of reflexes that expect different atmospheric pressure, different gravity, different sounds and smells, and the thousand subtle sensory inputs that define home. Your body has adapted to Martian conditions, but your deep neurology still expects Earth's embrace. Sleep comes through deliberate surrender to circumstances that evolution never prepared your species to encounter. Tonight's dreams will likely process the day's discoveries through symbol and metaphor, translating unprecedented experiences into narratives that connect alien findings to human emotions. You might dream of microscopic fossils that speak with familiar voices, of equipment failures that threaten not just survival but the ability to share discoveries with Earth, of walking through landscapes populated by ancient microbes that welcome you to their billion-year-old world. But beneath the symbolic processing lies a more fundamental transformation occurring at the deepest levels of human consciousness. You're becoming something new, still recognizably human, but changed by exposure to truths that expand the boundaries of what human minds can encompass. The evidence of potential extraterrestrial life has altered your relationship with the universe, transforming it from a place where Earth might be unique to a cosmos, where life emerges, wherever planetary conditions create opportunities for organic chemistry to evolve toward complexity. The knowledge that you might have discovered evidence of ancient Martian life carries implications that extend far beyond scientific journals and peer review. If confirmed, the discovery would represent proof that life is not a cosmic accident but a natural outcome of planetary evolution. The universe would become a place where biology is common, where consciousness might have emerged on millions of worlds, where Earth's story of life becomes just one chapter in a cosmic narrative that includes untold billions of other stories. Your daughter will grow up in a universe transformed by today's potential discovery, where the possibility of extraterrestrial life evolves from science fiction speculation to scientific fact. Her generation will take it for granted that life exists elsewhere, will build space exploration programs based on the assumption that biology awaits discovery throughout the galaxy. The philosophical and religious implications of that transformation will reshape human civilization in ways that today's adults can barely imagine. The chronometer approaches 00 as Sol 847 draws toward its conclusion, marking the end of a day that might represent a turning point in human understanding of life's place in the universe. Tomorrow will bring additional analysis, continued sample processing, and the beginning of peer review processes that could confirm or refute the biological interpretation of today's discoveries. But regardless of what final analysis reveals, Sol 847 has already changed you in ways that can never be reversed. You have conducted the most thorough search for extraterrestrial life ever attempted, using humanity's most sophisticated analytical techniques to investigate questions that have haunted human curiosity since the first person looked up at stars and wondered whether other worlds might harbour life. The sleep that approaches will be the sleep of someone who has potentially witnessed confirmation that Earth is not alone, that life emerges wherever planetary conditions permit the complex chemistry of biology to unfold. You will dream under alien stars while carrying the knowledge that the universe might be populated by forms of life that evolution has been creating for billions of years on worlds scattered throughout the galaxy. As consciousness retreats into the universal mystery of sleep, your last thoughts are of gratitude for the privilege of being here, for the discoveries that might reshape human understanding, for the simple miracle of survival in a place where every breath represents successful negotiation with forces that would prefer you dead. You are falling asleep as one of the loneliest humans in history, but also as one of the most privileged, carrying evidence that might prove we are not alone in a universe that no longer seems quite so empty. Sol 847 ends as it began, with human consciousness adapting to circumstances that no previous generation could have imagined, processing experiences that expand the boundaries of what it means to be human in a cosmos that reveals new wonders to every generation brave enough to venture beyond the protective embrace of Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field. The stars that shine through your window have witnessed the birth and death of countless worlds, the emergence and extinction of forms of life that exist only in fossil records or not at all. Tonight, they witness something new. A human falling asleep on Mars while carrying evidence that life's story is not unique to Earth, that the universe creates biology with the same patience and persistence that it creates stars and planets and the vast structures that organize matter across cosmic distances. Tomorrow will bring new discoveries, new challenges, and new opportunities to push the boundaries of human exploration. But tonight, you sleep as a pioneer who has potentially confirmed that the universe is not empty, that life finds ways to emerge and persist and leave traces of its existence in stone that patient explorers can find billions of years later, proof that the cosmos creates consciousness with the same inevitability that it creates light.